calling in and you're like, I just want to tell Jovan and Forrest that they are loved. It's okay. I know I'm loved. And I want to tell Jovan and Forrest that they are, it's okay. I know, big girls. I am going to schedule official office hours. So call during office hours. We'll make sure Forrest will be here during one of those office hours so you can ask him questions. He also has his own channel and his own streams that you can talk to him. Forrest, if you want to plug any of those.
Yeah, you can find me on them internets. I'm right here on YouTube. Just you can find my channel is my name, Forrest Valkai, or you can look up Renegade Science Teacher. You can also go to valkailabs.com, VALKAILABS.com, and you can see all of my things, my YouTube and my Instagram and my TikTok, and sometimes I remember that I have Threads. That's pretty cool. Everybody cool's on Threads.
Isn't Threads full of Schnazis at the moment?
It's awful. It's awful. It was cool for a second, and then everybody realized Twitter was dying, and all the people who love Twitter moved to Threads.
Unbelievable.
And then I'm not getting on fucking Blue Sky. I have one.
Oh, I'm on Blue Sky. I like Blue Sky. I actually think Blue Sky is better.
I don't know.
Nah, Blue Sky slaps.
Buttons, and I'm trying to figure out Substack right now. I just don't have the capacity for it because I'm working too much, but I want to learn another app because I hear that one's cool.
Substack is really good, especially if you're like a writer and stuff. Substack is really good for stuff like that because you can monetize your monetize the writing and stuff. I gotta to the show real quick.
You are connected as the host.
Free subscription.
Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface.
Shit.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it is.
By the way, so you guys can call in if you want to talk to us today. 219-327-8005. 219-327-8005. Topics on the board today: trans men and women are men and women because duh. We have Forrest here who's a legitimate biologist. So if you try to call in arguing about sex and gender, I got some bad news for you, you little conservatives.
I would love to have a serious actual conversation. I've got a couple of fucking dweebuses on my Instagram right now who are like just refusing to even get the terminology right. Well,
you added me as a collaborator to that post, so I see every time you respond to that guy.
And I was like, hey, buddy, like there's a way you can challenge me on this, and if you're as right as you think, tens of thousands of people will see it. And of course not. Of course that's not happening.
And they're never as right as they think.
No, but it is always people like that. Whenever I would love to have an actual conversation about sex and gender. I would love to have an actual conversation about what trans people are and what that means. But I just know that someone's going to call in and scream something about genitals and something about chromosomes and something about bathrooms and then make noises that sound like the words like cancel culture. And then they're going to hang up and be mad. And like that's all that's going to happen. And it makes me sad.
You're canceling me. I'm gonna cancel you. I deserve
the
joke
right
for the masses.
To be hateful.
Now, chat. Some things
have the right to say anything negative about my Lord and Savior Donald Trump and his child God Charlie Kirk.
I need to be able to shit talk conservatives, so here I am shit talking them conservatives. Oh, that's why. Okay, like I was like, why is it's because your mic is coming through this, and your mic needs to actually be coming through this. This is a me thing, not a stream thing.
Thanks so much for coming to the stream, folks. It's this way all the time. Thanks for tuning in for your favorite.
We
show.
always
Technical
have
problems with Joe Von Bradley.
There's always
and
some
co-host awkward biologist Forrest Valkai.
Wait, but here I have you coming out of A, and you're not coming out of A now. Say something.
I'm not coming out of A. I'm talking right now, but I'm not coming out of A.
Fucking what? Whatever. I mean, it still works, so I guess I just won't worry about it right now. It's working. It's just I would have preferred you coming out of a different thing. I'll fix that later. We have a couple things to talk about in like the news zeitgeist today. So if you want to call in while we're talking about it, 219-327-8005. The lines are open. The call-in screeners are sitting there waiting to take your call. Shout out to Jess for screening today. First thing first, Donald Trump said an absolutely deranged, like truly unhinged thing. Like something where I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What universe do we live in? Let's open this up and take a look at the absolute deranged thing that Donald Trump said today.
Kimmel on late night.
Well, a lot of people, anybody could replace him. The guy had no talent.
Can you hear that for us?
Kimmel look, he was fired. He had no talent.
Okay. That's so weird because yesterday the guests could hear just fine. Let me just change.
Thing where he's saying that. Go ahead.
This is when he's essentially telling everybody that wait, hold on. Once I do this, you'll be able to hear it. Application audio Chrome. Okay. Now you should be able to hear it. So somebody asks him what he thinks about Jimmy Kimmel being suspended. And this is his response.
Well, a lot of people, anybody could replace him. The guy had no talent. Kimmel he was fired. He had no talent. He's a whack job, but he had no talent. And more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent, they get ratings. But he had no ratings. His ratings were worse than Colbert, I think.
That partially true.
Got rid of Colbert.
He was given like 11 million.
Look, that's something that should be talked about for licensing too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party. Thank you, everybody. Have a good flight. Fly safe. You know why I say that? Because I'm on the flight. I want to get home. Otherwise, I wouldn't care.
So first of all, fucking what? So Trump basically admitting that if you are on TV and you are speaking bad about Trump, the FCC, like they shouldn't be allowed to speak badly about Trump on national TV. The FCC should come in and remove your licensing if you're speaking bad about Donald Trump. Does anybody else think that's unhinged as fuck?
It's not a great look, you know what I mean? I don't know.
And to end the conversation with
it's frustrating.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it reads like a person who has never had a self-reflective thought in their entire life, because as you have Fox News, which isn't even a news company, that is listed as entertainment because what they do is not news, that has lost lawsuits because they spread lies and has had to say in court, nobody in their right mind would ever believe us. That's why we're allowed to say what we're saying, right? That this is who we're talking about with Fox. And all they do is attack Democrats. All they do is that you look back over the Obama years when they were having a week-long segment about the dude wearing a tan suit or ordering Dijon mustard on a hamburger. That just insanity. And this dude's like, yes, that is all okay. Also, he's from Kenya and something racism because he's black and blacks can't be president. And at the end of the day, you can't criticize me on television, otherwise I'll pull your licensing. It is just the most crybaby bullshit that I've ever heard, and it's exactly what I would expect from such a fucking loser. Which also, that is what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a weak person's idea of what a smart person looks like.
Also, maybe it's just me, but I don't think the FCC should be a federally run agency. Maybe I'm the wrong one here who thinks that the FCC should be thank you, friend. That thinks the FCC should be like a bipartisan independent group. Maybe that's just me. Bobtail Trucker, thank you so much for the gifted memberships over on YouTube. Thank you for that. But yeah, no, I absolutely unhinged fucking take. Okay, thank you. Also, shout out to Balthazar for the super chat. Our grammar Nazis, anti-communists.
Nice.
I don't have a boo on my soundboard, so I can't boo that that joke. I can't boo it.
I can do that. Oh, wait.
That was so fucking gross. But if you disagree with us on any of the topics on the board, feel free to call in. Listen, guys, the call-in lines are open. We are taking calls. 219-327-8005. 219-327-8005. I think so. Let's keep this gravy train going. One more thing that happened that's kind of really fucking crazy.
Ice
has gone off the rocker. And Ice has now basically voided the Fourth Amendment. So
ICE just spent $3 million on a device that can unlock your iPhone. It's a phone hacking tool called Grey Key, and a new government contract just confirmed ICE is using it. Here's how it works. They seize a phone, plug it into this box, and it brute forces the passcode, bypassing the normal security lockouts. Once they're in, they can extract everything. Your private messages, your photos, your location history, your contacts, everything. Last year, ICE spent $5 million on this technology. This $3 million is just their latest purchase. Your phone holds your entire life, and the government just bought the key.
So, yeah. That's something that's not legal.
You know, it's funny. It's the same thing. It reminds me when when was it? There was a mass shooting in San Bernardino, California, a little while ago. 2 people who were identified as terrorists, as Muslim extremists or whatever it was at the time. I forgot exactly the details of the case, but what I remember about it that sticks out in my brain is that they had iPhones, and the FBI or whoever was like, "Hey, Apple, we want you to give us a backdoor into this iPhone so we can then look through this person's data." And there was this there's this huge debate in the news over whether or not Apple should give the federal government access to these iPhones, because these people were definitely criminals. They were definitely terrorists. They were definitely bad people. They had definitely hurt people. And so the question was, is that enough to warrant now waiving this part of the Fourth Amendment and giving these people, the government access to these people's personal lives and data? And after much hemming and hawing and debating, finally it was decided no. Apple said, "Hey, listen, we got to value our customers' privacy. This sets a terrible precedent. We understand this is a very important case, but we're not going to give you access to the phone." And the FBI came out and said, "That's cool. We've had it the whole time anyway. We're just going to use ours." And Landon just went ahead and did it. And well, what the fuck? And that was kind of this shocking revelation that we're all just kind of pretending like you care. We're all pretending like you do this. And that was part of the time. I forgot how old I was at that time, but that was one of the big disillusioning moments where I was like, oh, all these people, they just put on suits and they go play dress up. They go play a game. They pretend like they work for literally anybody else besides billionaires. And they bop around the Capitol like this, eating good food and getting good health care and having good security and all the other things that they don't give us. And they do this game. They just play this game, and then we all play the game with them, and that's what it is. Oh my God. That case drove me crazy, and I feel like this is exactly the same thing. Just you have the whole thing about protection of the Constitution. You have the whole thing about due process. You have the whole thing about how the rights extend to everyone in this country, no matter whether it's all these things we learned about in civics class. It's all just part of the game. It's all just the fun little game that we play. We all put on our little suits and we all go bopping around town, acting like we live in a free society. And then the government's like, "Hey, fuck you, by the way." And we're like, "Yes, sir." We just keep on going.
Yeah. Yes, Daddy. Yes, Daddy. Yes, it's just crazy because it's been reaffirmed by the courts over and over and over again that you need a warrant to search in someone's phone. It's just like a home, and they don't give a shit. They don't give a fuck. They're like, "We don't care." What, a warrant? What, who is that? Who is this warrant that you speak of? Never heard of them before.
Do they have their papers?
Do they have their papers? It's crazy.
Rent sounds like one of them Muslim names. We gotta kick them out.
Did I just fuck something up? Hold on.
Probably.
I might have. No, I didn't. Remove that. Okay. So we got some people calling in. Remember, you can call in.
Hey.
You can call in. We have the call-in screeners on the line, so feel free to call in. You will get through to a screener who can put you on the wait list. We've got somebody here willing to talk, so let's bring them up and see if we can't get a debate going. Hello, are you here to debate? Mike, are you there, Mike?
Hello?
There you are. Hello, Mike.
Yeah, I'm there, but my reception is a little bit shitty.
No problem, no problem. Mike, can I just get your age and pronouns, please?
Oh my god, my reception is so bad I can barely understand anything. But my name is Mike, 25, he, him.
Okay. Mike, 25, he, him. And Mike, you're
Hello?
calling... Yeah, can you hear us?
No, I'm hearing you.
Okay, there we go. There is a bit of a delay, so just be aware of that, Mike. Mike, you're calling in to debate us on whether God is real. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, Mike, are you what are you religious, Mike?
Nope, I'm an atheist and I want to play devil's advocate for a bit.
Okay. So I'm not really the biggest fan of devil's advocate debates. One, it ties up the line for when like actual like conservatives are trying to call in. Two, I just always think the devil don't need an advocate. We don't have anybody else calling in right now, so if you want to, we can. If you want to possibly propose an argument that we might have never heard of before. But as soon as I see another call on the list, we will drop it.
Okay, I'll try, and once you hear my argument, you'll start to understand why I'm saying this. Like a devil's advocate, I don't believe in myself, but there is a case to be made that God is real. And it all has to do with the fact that all of our reality is based purely on our own perception. So if somebody perceives that God is real, for them it is real. And that's their truth, and it's just as valid as yours and mine. And that's the case I'm willing to make.
Yeah. So I've heard this argument from people who are serious about it, and it sucked then, and it kind of sucks now. Because at the end of the day, the phrase "perception is reality" is kind of this truism about like how we interact with the world. I feel like when you vocalize it this way, it makes it sound like you're taking it very literally, and then you're bordering rather than on this kind of idea of what we think about the world, the way we perceive the world, the way that we interact with the world is important, and that's the lesson. And you're going now into like idealism is true, and your thoughts create the world around you, and it's just that's not. I don't think any part of that's reasonable.
Well, the other host, he is a biologist, right?
Yeah, that's
I
Forrest
am the one speaking.
Just talking to you.
Yeah. All right. So, you know, as well as I do, that bacteria exist, right? We can perceive them. We can grab a microscope. We can easily see that there's a whole other world our normal eyes can't see. But as soon as we grab a microscope, we know they exist. But before that, in the 1600s, 1700s, they didn't know about it. So to them, there was no bacteria. It didn't exist. There was no way of proving that they exist. So until that point, it wasn't real. But now we know.
But they still died of bacterial illness. Bacteria were still there. People still died of the Black Plague. Like,
yeah, of course,
a long time before we knew what Yersinia pestis was, how fleas transmit disease, any of these things. So whether or not they were real to them or in their opinion doesn't change whether or not it was actually real. So if somebody believes that bacteria are real or doesn't believe they are real, they're still real. Same thing with God. Whether or not you believe it has no bearing on whether or not it's real. We have no reason to believe that it is real. If it is real, there would be evidence for it. We have not found that evidence yet. Therefore, there is no reason to believe it. If anybody back in the 1300s had come out during the Black Plague and said, hey, I think there's these tiny little things causing the Black Plague, they would have been right, But unless they had good reason to say that, unless they had some evidence, unless they were, a long time before Leeuwenhoek showing little animalcules, then there's no reason for anybody to have taken them seriously.
Exactly. And I think that the theists among us can make the same case for us.
Huh?
It's
right.
just
the difference is, the theistic argument in this
we
case,
all
which
see
again
color,
I've heard before,
but it's
the
impossible to
theistic argument in
describe.
this case, again, the theistic argument in this case isn't that there is evidence for God. It's that we should presume there is evidence until proven otherwise, which is backwards. That's simply not how thinking works.
Yeah, all right. I can see that. But still, to them, it's completely real.
No, nobody's arguing whether to them it's real. I'm arguing whether they have a good reason to think that it is, and I don't think that they do. And so, to somebody, the proverbial person in a padded room, wrapped up in a straitjacket, imagining that they're riding unicorns flying in the sky, that doesn't mean that unicorns are real, right? So, like, it's just saying because someone has a perception, that means that there's something in reality that perception exists. That is nonsensical. Things either exist or they don't, objectively speaking. And whether or not we have evidence for them is whether or not we should believe in them. That's the way we learn.
Our entire reality, the way we interact with the world, is just based on this
if somebody
perception.
isn't doing that, then they are at risk of being taken advantage of.
Sure.
So do you understand the disconnect? Like saying perception is reality is a fun lesson to say the way you think has a impact on how you act and what you perceive and the way you interact with the universe. That's the lesson there. It isn't literally true.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also has a physical impact.
Right.
Those quantum theorists or scientists, they've already observed that just the fact of observing changes our physical world around us.
Not in the way you're talking about, no.
Maybe I misunderstand. I'm not a quantum scientist by any means, so I can misinterpret that as well, but that's the way what I took away from that.
Okay. The whole point here is I understand the argument that you're making, but it doesn't get us anywhere because at the end of the day, like we talked about with bacteria were always there. And the reason why we know they're there is because there was evidence. So if we want to say, well, God might be there and we don't have the evidence yet, okay, then you shouldn't believe it yet. And saying that somebody believes it already is not evidence for it. Saying that it exists in somebody's mind is not evidence for it. None of that really works.
And we have other callers, so it's time to end the Devil's Advocate call.
All right, take care.
Okay, thank you. And goodbye.
Did we?
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Two things happened. One, my stream started going crazy.
Horizontal stream?
Yeah. I just turned it off because as much as I like having it, I just shut it off because it was causing too much stream lag. So I just reverted. I restarted. It's just the vertical and the Twitch now, and everything is working peachy smoothly.
Both peachy and smoothly?
Yeah, at the same time. So
this
is what we're gonna do. All right, we got
now
a couple
you can see
people.
my fucking
my
chair over there, the bonus chair in the room.
Oh my God, you have a Cuck chair?
The framing is all completely different.
Oh,
I have a Cuck chair in my office
Oh,
for
you
when
know.
somebody wants to come in here and watch me do science.
Watch me. I'm gonna do science. All right, we're going to take the next call. Remember, if you want to chat, the call lines are still open. We started at what? We started at $60. We are at $57 now. So $3 for how many minutes has the call line's been open? That's not too bad. It's not great, It's not too bad. So if you want to support the show, guys, consider just if you want to support the show so you can help us keep the call-in lines up and running, consider tipping. Cash App and Venmo are on the screen, and super chats on YouTube also go towards just keeping the show running and afloat. Let's bring in the next person. Ooh, there's 2 people on the list.
Hey.
Which number looks most interesting to you, 3 or 5?
I mean, honestly, I would say 5 is going to be the easiest one. 3 is definitely something that I would ramble about, but let's do 5.
Oh, well, I guess we don't have to worry about it.
They've been waiting for the exact amount of time.
Yeah. So,
okay. Well, that's fine.
3 dropped, so we'll just do 5. Okay. Hello. Oh. Okay, there we go. Hello. Yeah. Hey, Joe, welcome to the show. Are you here to debate?
I guess so. I have a quick question following up on the last gentleman that was talking.
Yeah, before that, can I just get your age and real quick, can I just get your age and pronouns, please?
Sure. I'm 25, or I'm reading off. Wow. 35. Reading off your list there, and just he.
Okay. And you said you had questions about what the last guy said. Are you a religious person, Joe?
I am, yes.
Okay. What did you want to ask about what the last guy was talking about?
So, I guess I think it's Forrest, correct, on the bottom of my screen. I'm sorry, I'm watching it live here.
Yep, that's Forrest on the bottom.
Okay. So I think he made a comment that just because, it's perceived in the mind, that's not enough evidence for it to be real, correct?
Something along those lines. We were talking about the existence of a deity. So we're talking about something external to a person. So if the caller's example is that bacteria existed before people knew that they existed, and therefore there may be something like a god that could exist external to us, and that it existing in our minds is some sort of evidence for that. And I was explaining that having an idea in your head is not a good enough reason to believe that something external to you out in objective reality is actually a thing. If something exists out in external in objective reality, it would have some sort of evidence to it that you could then rely on to go check out.
So
are you now going to try to say that something in the mind that has no evidence is trans people or something like that?
Well, I guess that is an internal belief, is it not?
Well, it's a critique of the self. No,
it's not a belief. It is.
So
so being trans is not a belief. It is a state of being, but it is internal.
Yeah, gender identity is your subjective perception of your sex and the way that sex is oriented in the body. So you're not making some universal truth claim. You're not claiming that you're making an internal claim. And the only people that can make internal claims are the self.
So how is that any different than if I, in my mind, believe there is a God, I've heard him speak to me in my mind, how is that, any different?
Because you're making an external claim about
factor,
No, it is. You're claiming that there is a being that exists in the universe, and you've talked to this being. Now, you can say your belief absolutely is internal. Whether you believe in that being or not, is the only person that can tell us that is you. But you're claiming that this being exists in the physical universe. So then that would be an external claim, not an internal claim.
I guess I don't see the logic there. I'm very much trying. I just don't see that.
Well, let me draw the line for you. Let me just show a different example. If I tell you I am sad, is that a scientific claim that you can then test and verify? Just in common day-to-day life, if I tell you I'm sad, are you going to take this as a serious truth claim that you need some sort of evidence for? Or do you just accept when I say to you as a person, I'm sad today?
Well, that's hard because there's two ways of looking at it. Is, you know, the physical aspect of brainwave patterns, tears, that kind of stuff. But if you don't present any external factors, then you can just be saying,
I'm saying,
you
if
know,
I walk
I'm
up
sad
to you
right now.
just as a person, if I just walk up to you as a person, we're talking just not right now on the phone. In this instant, if I tell you that I'm feeling sad, are you going to expect me to provide to you my brain waves and evidence that I've cried recently? Or would you just say, fuck, man, I'm sorry you're sad? Like, what? How are you going to handle that information? I'm sad.
No, brain scan. Prove it to me.
Well, how is that different than saying I believe in God?
Wait, I have an
So
example. I have an example that might be a little easier to comprehend, right? Like, when we're making two different claims here, when a trans woman says she's a woman, they're making a claim that their internal gender identity aligns with sort of what is societally viewed around womanhood, right? They're making a claim about this. When you make a claim that God is real, you're making a claim that there's an external being, there's somebody in the universe that exists that is God. One of these has a much larger threshold of evidence than the other. The way I like to explain it, sadness is a good one. I think love is a good one. Friendship is a good one. Like, if somebody tells me that, like,
hold on. I think there's the disconnect there. The belief in God is not that he exists in the universe, right? He is on a, you could say, a different plane. We can't comprehend where he is.
Okay, sure. You just
it's not like some far off place.
Take universe and just replace it with exists in some type of reality. In some type of reality, whether in our universe or outside of our universe. You believe there is a being that exists who can exert some type of physical will on the universe, who has I don't know what religion you are. If you're Christian, you would believe that there's a being who not only existed, but has existed in human form, who has performed miracles, who has exerted his will on the universe. You believe these things to be true. That's making a physical claim about the reality of our universe that would require a larger threshold of evidence than someone making an internal claim about themselves. That's why if somebody says to me, hey, Jovan, is Forrest your friend? The only thing I have to say to that is yes. I don't have to provide any evidence because I'm making an internal claim about whether Forrest meets my internal criteria of friendship.
I would also put out, like, when I was asking you about sadness, your initial rebuttal was, well, how is that different than the belief in God? No one's arguing whether or not you believe in the thing. That's where I feel like maybe we're getting hung up. Is like, your belief is not at issue here. It's whether or not something is reality. That's the issue. And when I was talking to that last caller, I was explaining that, like, your internal belief has no bearing on external reality. And I think I'm wondering if that might be where we're getting hung up here. Where, like, no one's arguing whether or not you can believe a thing.
Understood. So
I would love to get to where this connects to
threshold that you require
for what? For a God?
I'm sorry, I missed that last part. Yeah, for a God.
I was saying I would love to get to where this connects to a gender. But if we're talking about God, we can talk about God. You're asking what's the threshold for me to also believe it? What are you asking me specifically?
Correct. For that
it's
threshold,
hard
you
to say.
say that there's no evidence.
Yes. So some evidence at all would be great. As of right now, all of the evidence that I've gotten for a God after years and years of doing call-in shows and talking to different religious people, growing up in Oklahoma, surrounded by religious people, the only evidence I've ever gotten is misunderstandings about science, things that are not currently explained by science, or just like totally anecdotal evidence about feelings and thoughts and dreams and things that cannot be verified or externally useful. So any would be good. But if we were actually talking about science for real, if we were actually saying, like, hey, here is now the reason that you have to set a threshold. God's going to meet your demands. God's going to show you exactly what it is to believe him. it would still be difficult for me to say what it is, because I would not, in my limited understanding, be able to separate and determine if this is actually a deity or a really fucking good magic trick or aliens with super technology or some other crazy thing. So it's hard for me to pin down what that threshold is. But what's really, really important about that is that if your God is real and as powerful as the people who believe in it claim to be, or claim that it is, it knows exactly how to convince me. It knows my heart, it knows my mind, it knows everything. It would know exactly what it would take to convince me beyond a shadow of a doubt and answer all my questions and wipe away all my concerns and fears, as Jesus does in the book of John to the disciples. He proves himself in many ways that they decided not to write down for whatever reason. And so that's what I would say for that.
So
It's like, I don't know for sure what it would take, but anything would be good. Nothing is what we've got. Anything would be good, and I don't know where the
just to give real quick, just to give my answer to this as well. I just kind of go off the five senses, right? I would need to either see, touch, taste, smell, or hear God in some way that I can confirm that what I'm hearing, touching, tasting, smelling, or seeing exists in reality, separate of just existing in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the difference here is, at least for me being a Catholic, so take your parents. If you ask them, you say, hey, I love you. Do you love me? And you may not ask them outright, but you see that love growing up, right? They provide for you. They guide you. They teach you. They give you all these things, right? Mm-hmm. So without, the ask, right, you can see the evidence of, their love, correct?
Because I can physically see them and see them engaging with the physical reality that I exist in. So yeah.
Yeah, that's like it's very common for theists to say, well, you can't measure love, and therefore, there's something spiritual there. But like at the end of the day, I still know the person who is loving me is real, right?
Yeah, correct, right. But using that example, it was talked about through Jesus, is that he's not here to prove himself to us, right? It's not his job to prove himself. He's given us all these things.
I would,
if you believe in that or not, that's fine.
Well, yeah, I would agree with you. Really quickly, Joe, I would agree with you that I don't think Jesus has to prove himself to us. I just think it's then kind of fucked up to punish us for not believing in him.
Yeah.
But how is that punishment? Where's
we go to hell? At least the Bible says we go to hell.
No, that's people who have learned you could say the truth, right? That's what someone who's religious would say. If you learn the truth was very basic once he came down, right? He gave you the 10 Commandments, and then it turned into the Beatitudes, and it transformed into this. These are the basics of human nature, being kind to your neighbor, loving your family. But on top of that, you love me first, God first. If that's something that you struggle with or that you reject, then it's on you, right? We've given you the framework.
No, that's punishing me.
We've been given the framework through the.
But it is. If it's God is saying. God is saying he wants people to believe in him, right? If you do believe in him, you get everlasting love and everlasting light, and you get to be with him for all of eternity, right? If you don't believe in him, you don't get any of these things. Even if we want to go under the predication that hell's not real, you would still not receive everlasting love. You would not receive everlasting life, and you're going to go to some dark place, whatever it is, right? If you don't believe in him. So he wants us,
depending on the theology.
Yeah. He wants us to believe in him. And if we don't believe in him, based on a lack of evidence that he has not provided us, right? He hasn't given us a reason to believe in him, right? He just wants us to do it off the faith. Okay. And if we don't, we get punished for that, even though he gave us free will in the first place. If he wants us to engage in that free will, Why are we getting punished for engaging in the thing he gave us?
So, I two things there. One, it goes back on to it's an all-powerful, ever-being, total creator, right? That we are comparatively nothing, respects to him, but he still provides us all of this stuff. To demand some form of showmanship or payment for our services, I think that's, even in our sense of the world, is a little bit, conceited of us. The other thing is, you say that it's a punishment, right? Punishments are because of X action, this is Y punishment, but it's not. You're confounding it with discipline. We have disciplines in everything. X action for Z reasons give us Y, the Y punishment.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
So you just
really quick.
You just use the word punishment in your explanation as to why this isn't punishment, and also, who the fuck is this God to punish me? His sins far outweigh my own. I'm not beholden to him.
Let me just ask. I just want to propose a scenario here. If my mom says to me, "Take the chicken out of the fridge to thaw when you get home from school, so it thaws by dinner time, or else you're going to be grounded," was I punished if I don't do it?
Yeah, correct. That is a punishment.
That is exactly what God. That's exactly what God did. God said, "God is the mom." God said, "Believe in me," which is taking out the chicken, or else you go to hell, which is getting grounded. This analogy is 1-to-1.
Okay, but you're missing the discipline part. So you take the statement from your mother, take out the chicken. Discipline comes in the form of reasons why. So you can, help provide for the family. I'm expecting you to be a providing member of this family. It's more than just the action, right? Now, if you fail to meet these requirements of providing for the family, or not, I'm trying to, force it into your analogy. It's more than just the straight action or inaction.
No, it's not. It's directly the inaction.
No, you're saying,
he that believeth not is condemned already. That's what is said. He that believeth not is condemned already. If you do not believe, you are condemned. And part of that condemnation is going to hell. That's a punishment.
But it's on top of, do you believe?
Yes. Do you believe is take out the chicken.
But it's additional. You're completely skipping everything else.
It doesn't matter if it's additional. It's still punishment. It doesn't matter.
It's so frustrating because again, the biggest issue I'm having here, dude, is that it is still assuming that this person has the right to punish us in the first place. And that's the biggest issue we're having here, Joe. Is that Joe Vaughn's example of his mom is very different if you replace the word mom with some random lady who found his phone number and texted him and said, "Go to my house and get the chicken out of my fridge or I'm going to ground you." And he says, "Who the fuck are you? Who gives you the right to tell me to do this?" That's what we're situation. We didn't 100%. This God is assumed. This God is being forced upon us. I was born without knowing about this God. I was born an atheist. And then this God comes along, or at least his followers do, and say, "Hey, here's this dude you've never heard of. And he's a fucking monster. And you'd never worship him in your life if you had the chance. But he says you need to be really nice to him. Otherwise, he's going to punish you. And now you have free will and choice." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you telling me this? Who are you? This makes no sense." This whole thing is on the framework as if what you're saying is normal or reasonable. It's not.
Okay. So the punishment in its real sense is a unwanted consequence, correct?
Well, sometimes God also sometimes physically punishes you for not believing in him. Like he physically will slaughter thousands
And
if they don't believe in him.
And if you're a Catholic and you believe in the Bible, he
Okay.
physically punishes people all the time for all sorts of trivial shit, even sometimes before they knew they did something wrong.
I don't want to weigh on that topic. I'd like to stay it on, I'm not
No, of course,
disagreeing
because
that
it's
there
true.
was enacted force, but you're talking about Old Testament versus New Testament.
Aren't you Catholic?
So it's very much.
Is the
I
Old
am.
Testament does
But
the Old
it's
Testament not
not-
matter?
What's that?
Does the Old Testament not matter? Didn't Jesus say, I am God? Or he never said I am God, but he said, I am the same, the before and after and all the time. God is the same before and after and all the time. That Jesus said, I come not to change the old laws, but to fulfill them. That not a jot or a tittle of the law shall change until all things come to pass in the end of the age and all that stuff. That I come not to bring peace, but a sword, and set brother against brother, and all that whole stuff, showing that he was a reflection of the Old Testament God, and that the Old Testament God does not change. Also, the 10 Commandments are in the Old Testament, all 3 versions of them. So does that stuff just not matter anymore because it all includes physical punishment?
No, I'm saying that after generations
Also,
of
let's not forget the
theologians
fact-
weighing this topic, is that you're taking it verbatim in your understanding of the Bible, and you can shoehorn
Okay,
any
so
kind
then
of
God-
opinion into it. Like
So then
that's
God
the great-
wants me
that's
to
the great
become a theologian.
mystery, right?
God wants me to become a theologian so that I can understand some deep esoteric meaning of the Bible so that then I can believe in him the right way and then I get to go to his theme park after I die. What a system.
No,
Because as far as I'm concerned, if this God is any kind of halfway smart, if this God would be any kind of halfway smart and he wanted people to follow him, he would make it so that a plain text reading of his book would be enough to help you understand who he is. And a plain text reading of his book
hold on.
lets you understand that he's a fucking lunatic.
Oh, but it's not his book. It was written in error through humans with the grace of the Holy Spirit. You're
Then why should we believe any of it?
So then you agree the Bible has errors, right? The Bible is errant. It is not a perfect document. It is full of errors. We agree on that?
I would agree that there is the human element put into those who have been writing, trying to understand what has God told them.
But then what parts of it do we believe?
Do you agree?
Like,
But
just real quick,
I was going to say, I was going to ask people.
Oh, yeah.
Just let me, I know.
Yeah, by all
Hold
means.
on,
I was going to
we're
ask the
moving
same
ahead
thing. I was
because
just getting there a little longer.
What's that?
No, I was going to ask the same thing Jovan just asked. I was going to ask you a few more questions to make sure that we agreed that the Bible contains errors, inconsistencies, historical inaccuracies, scientific impossibilities, and a God who is just front to back an absolute evil piece of shit. And if your response to all of this is to say, well, yeah, there's this human aspect to it, then the follow-up question that Jovan jumped to, which was the right thing to do, because clearly this isn't going very far, is to say, how do we know what parts of the Bible we should believe and what parts of the Bible we shouldn't believe? Because let me tell you, if you ask a Christian 5 years ago or 5 minutes down the road from you, you're going to get a different answer.
I totally agree with you there. And I think a perfect example piece here is when Jesus is on the cross. And I think there's a book written about this. The sinners to his left and right, I don't know which one it was, said, forgive me, let me be with you. And Jesus responds, today on this day, you will be with me in paradise, right? And there's a book, I forget who it's written by. It's like the great comma or the mysterious comma. Wherever you put that comma in the sentence can totally change the interpretation of what is said. And I think that is also in how we speak as humans. We put inflections on certain words and totally change the entire sentence, right? So to cherry pick if you read it and you take out what you believe it said, right, it can be totally different than what someone else believes.
Well, I want to just
through the Catholic
really
faith,
quickly, Joe, I to stop you on something here. We're not cherry picking. We are taking the context in its literal written form. What you're telling us is that we can't actually do this because of human error, rewrites, translations, whatever it might be. So the question becomes, if somebody tells me this is a holy doctrine of spirit, and this holy doctrine, this book, is the thing that guides us religiously, but this book is also rife with human errors, contradictions, et cetera, how do we know which parts of the book to believe and which parts of the book to not believe?
because that is the job of the theologians, you could say the Pope and all of its, the predecessors, all of our collective human understanding of it. And if the majority, I'm not saying it's majority rule, but if that is where we are guided by our fathers.
So just to be clear,
that is
just to be clear, if this is the job,
but the core
if this is the job of the theologians, if this is the job of the theologians and all those people, then are you saying that for the past 2,000 years, when people have believed all sorts of different things because of what all sorts of different theologians said, that all those different Christians were wrong, and that now you, Joe, have the right kind of Christianity?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay, so then again, how do you know the theologians that you listen to are more correct than the theologians from 1,000 years ago who said totally different things about the same religion?
Because the core beliefs and values are the same.
Well, that's not true either.
Throughout.
That's all. Yeah, it's also false.
We can see this in just the Catholic Church themselves. The catechisms say unquestionably from the Catholic Church, as slavery is an evil thing to do, and slavery is completely evil, shouldn't happen, blah, blah, blah. The book disagrees with this. So the core teachings definitely are not the same between those two things.
And also the Catholic Church has historically changed its mind on a lot of important theological topics, like whether or not purgatory exists and whether or not you can buy your way out of hell and all sorts of other things, indulgences, like all these other things that the Catholic Church used to be a fan of and now isn't, and have changed their minds on over the years. All of a sudden, unbaptized babies are okay. Like, these are very different beliefs coming down from the Pope, who changed the doctrine, changed the narrative on what the creator of the universe wants with you. So, like, that's also not true. The dogma has changed, the religion has changed, the interpretation has changed. What theologians say in one generation to the next generation changes over and over. That's why there are new theologians. Otherwise, you would just have one single dogma, and a theologian's job would just be to recite it to you. The fact that theologians exist is evidence that this is something that is being researched and understood in different ways over time, which means either it is getting more wrong or it's getting more right. And you seem to be in the position that the ideas and beliefs and practices you have surrounding this religion, based on your understanding of your interpretation of your access to the theologians that you like, happens to be the correct version of this. Which means all the other 40,000 different denominations of Christianity around the world and throughout history are all wrong. And they're all going to hell, which you may or may not believe in, but they fucking do. Like, I'm sorry, dude, at the end of the day, none of this actually gives me any reason to believe in this. You're just telling me what you believe.
No, hold on. I think you're thinking that there's more into it than what there is. There is one, we started at this one simple topic. If I gave a stranger with no religious background ever, gave him a copy of the Bible, what is one topic, the one major point of the Bible? It's a single point.
To fear God.
Fear in God. Also have sex right and own slaves.
Hold on, that's your interpretation.
And don't eat shellfish, I suppose.
The thing that exists throughout the entirety. If you give someone the book and you say, read this book from start to finish, for at least the entirety of the old hold on for at least the entirety of the Old Testament, the what I think, based on what is the core center of all of these stories, right, is you should fear God. That's the core center of the story of Job. That's the core center of the Pharaoh and Moses. It's saying that the Pharaoh didn't have fear of God. That's the core center of what the Israelites did to the Canaanites. Like, that's the core center of almost every story, is that is fear of God. So if I gave someone this book who has no idea about religion, they are going to come back with, God kind of evil. Oh, bro, God ain't a good being.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not asking for characteristics on it, right? That's your interpretation of it. It's the belief is with the book and what we have been told. I'm not asking for, topics on indulgences or abortion or slavery. It's that the one core focus is that there is a God. That is the whole point. Your interpretations is what, delves further and creates the divides. And, you may read it and think that it's, fear God. And I may read it and think that it's loving God. But the core thing is that we both understood it, is that there is a God. That's the point of it.
Okay, so let's assume that's right. The core message of the Bible is there's this guy, and his name is God, and he can do some pretty crazy shit. He exists. What do I now do with that information? Because if I read the Bible, I can tell you just from looking at, there's no reason to worship this dude. The fact I can say throughout the Bible, he demands to be worshipped quite a bit, and I can say I would never do that shit. So I read the Bible, and it's got a main villain named God throughout the whole thing. I now can say, okay, there's this guy named God, because I've decided to believe in this book for whatever reason. He's not a good guy, not worthy of worship, doesn't do anything that's particularly interesting or good throughout the book. What do I do now?
Well, I also just want to point out that, based off of what you said, Joe, and then you can answer Forrest. I just want to point something out. Like, even if I take away from reading the Bible, the Bible tells me God is real. If I'm a rational human being who's never heard of religion, and I read this book, and I my next question would then be, okay, well, what's the proof that the Bible is true?
Right.
That would be like literally my next
assuming
question.
I believe it.
But yeah, no, answer Forrest's question first. I just wanted to add that in.
Okay. So, I guess, how do I do this? You can be, we see it in our political divide, right? You can turn on a news station and just be like, oh, Fox News or CNN, everything that they tell me, I'm going to hate. You go in with this mindset of, because I don't believe in their side, everything they say is hate, right? So if you go,
you understand that that's not what we're doing, though,
not
right?
with a positive.
Just to be clear.
What's that?
You understand that's not what we're doing,
what was
right?
that?
I just want to make sure.
No,
are you using this as an analogy, or are you accusing us of going into the Bible saying everything that's in this book we're going to dislike?
No, I think there's a strong. I think there's strong evidence for that, because on the flip side, God gave me, created everything. How is that not enough? If the great deity provided you everything in existence,
how do I know that he did that?
Itself,
how do I know that he did that, Joe?
So, right. No, we're going with the assumption that we believe it, right? We're going with the assumption that we read the Bible, and the one thing we took away from it is that there is this dude named God, right? And so now I know, here's this dude named God. And based on what I learned in the Bible, is he knows all things, except for certain parts where he doesn't. But general takeaway is he knows everything that's going on in the world, and he's got control over the world, and he knows everything, the whole world's in his hands, and that he can not a sparrow falls from the sky without him knowing, and he counts the hairs on your head, and he knew you before you were ever made, and all these things about how he just knows everything in the world, and he's super, super powerful. That's what I know about this God. And then I look around the world, right? And I see a world where
Yep.
24,000 people, including 10,000 of them being children, starve to death every single day. That's a real statistic about the world we live in. I look around, I see the world full of
Yep.
rape and murder and genocide and war and oppression, largely in his name. I look around and I see this broken,
Okay.
fucked up, evil world, and I'm thrust into it. And this God says, praise me for it, or I will burn you forever. I'm not a fan. I don't see how
He's
you
telling
take
you-
this out of, like,
he's
you
telling
get
you
this
that-
context, and then you say, go ahead.
But you're saying that you're telling, so all of these things derive from sin. Are you saying that,
No,
God
they don't.
is pro sin?
No,
God
they
is
don't.
absolutely. I would.
He's telling you to-
So-
Wait.
First of all, yes.
Absolutely,
yes,
God
he
is pro
but that's
sin,
also not the
100%.
point. Yes, first of all, yes, but second of all, like, no, they don't derive from sin. They derive from him. Ultimately, they derive from him. If you have an all-powerful being, then ultimately that all-powerful being is responsible for everything in his control. Everything is in his control. He is responsible for everything. If he doesn't like something that's happening in the world, he could change it. And the fact of the matter is, the definition of sin, as far as I'm concerned, is something that goes against his commandments. So in that way, you could say that he's anti-sin because he wants what he wants. But in reality, as far as we list out what sins are and all the evil things that people can do, God does a fucking lot of them and commands a fucking lot of them as well. So, like, at the end of the day, there's really no getting around the fact that God is responsible for the fallen state of the world. God is responsible for sin as it exists. God is responsible for the consequences of sin, both in this life and after this life. All of this falls back on God's shoulders, as God himself says a
All right,
couple of
so-
times in the Bible.
So I guess I have a very simple question for you, and I'll wrap it up
Yeah.
here. So God is responsible for all. Let's give the analogy. You're a parent, and your child is going to be born, the most vile, sadistic child in the world. Do you murder that child before they're born?
I would have if I was wanting to have this child and I had some foreknowledge, just to be clear, if I wanted to have this child and I had some foreknowledge that they were going to be some evil thing, I would take it upon myself to be the responsible parent and raise them better than that and teach them something better. What God does is
Totally
throw
agree.
us to the fucking wolves. What God does is throw us to the wolves and then blame us for being bitter whenever we have bad experiences by his design. That's not parenting. That's not love. That's just callous stupidity. Also, you said, let's assume you were walking down this line with me and said, let's assume God is responsible for all. Let me ask you, in your theology, is God responsible for all things? Do you believe that anything happens that is beyond God's will?
No, I don't.
Okay,
Because
well then
I
I don't know
believe
why we're arguing because your interpretation here is that everything that happens is what God wants to happen. So as I'm sitting here telling you there's all this rape and murder and slavery and genocide and terrible shit in the world, you're saying, yeah, he wants it that way.
You changed it. Wait. You said it's what God wants, not that God.
I said will.
It's his all knowledge. Right?
No, I said will.
There's a
I
difference
said, does
there.
anything happen?
God wants.
I asked you, does anything happen that is outside of God's will? And you said no. As we learn in the book of Job, for example, where God is more than happy to do horrible, evil things to a very faithful person to prove a point. As we see in, I believe, Isaiah, where God says, I am the author of all things. I create good and evil. As we see over and over in the Bible where God says, I am responsible for everything, light and darkness, all of it. I'm asking you if you agree with that. Are the evil things that happen in the world God's will?
it is. I guess we're not going to agree on this because of just different interpretations. Yes, God is.
I would love an
everything
answer.
And all around them.
I would love an answer.
Well, that's the thing. Is that
are the bad things that happen in the world God's will? Does God want the bad things that happen in the world to happen? Is it part of his plan?
That's the thing. As we humans, we cannot understand is God's will. So by saying,
okay, so you don't even know. So when I said that shit and you argue with me, you don't know.
I mean, the book says it's all to God's will.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, there really are three options here. Either things can happen that God doesn't want to have happen, and all this sin and pain and suffering is outside of his plan, outside of his will, so he isn't actually in control of everything. Or this stuff is in his will, and there's nothing that happens that God doesn't want to have happen, and that everything is under his control, which means you actually think that all the horrible shit in the world is a good thing. Or you don't know either way. All you know is there's some guy named God, and he may or may not have powers. And I don't know what that does for you. I don't know where that gets you in life. There's some asshole out there who says I should worship him, and I don't know why.
But I want to. We've been going for a while, so I want to give you, Joe. I want to give you a chance to respond. These will be last thoughts, and then we've got to move on to more callers.
Yeah, no, I think it's just, for me, it's pretty cut and dry. If I came up to you and said there's this everlasting life, someone's provided everything for you, and through human error we have strayed from this path. I'm going to do everything I can to stay or try and fix myself to a different way of living than just either remaining in ignorance or doing what is.
Sure, and I just think that if somebody came up to either of us and said
evil,
that,
but I think
just if somebody came up to me and said that, Joe, my next question to them would be like, prove it, which I don't think you were able to do here today. But thank you for calling in. If you want to call in another day, whether Forrest is here or somebody else is here, or I'm just here, feel free to call in another day. But we are going to move on to the next call. Thank you for calling in, Joe. Thank you for chatting with us today.
God has no right to judge you, Joe. His sins far outweigh your own.
I felt a little preachy. If you are going to call in to debate us, at least have an argument. The argument shouldn't just be, well, right. I don't think it's true because I have faith, so I don't think that that's the case. We know you don't. We want you to defend it a little bit. We did get a bunch of super chats. We're going to read super chats at the end so we can continue on with debates, or at least when we find like a lull in callers. All super chats, all tips, anything like that does go to supporting the show. It does go to helping maintain the call-in line that I'm currently watching the balance drop down on. But not too bad. Not too bad. It seems like I might be able to use this for the foreseeable future. Remember, if you don't like something a guest is saying and it's been 20 minutes of them debating, you can also boot them any $20 tip or $20 to the super chats. That does kick out the person you want that's talking. You just let me know and we'll kerplonk. I
was sad about the fact that call was supposed to be about trans people, and it was about Catholicism. It was like the thing that he put in the call screen was trans women aren't real women and trans men aren't real men. I wanted to talk to him about it, but we had fucking 40 solid minutes of I believe this because I believe this.
I will say, I think the trans people watching are probably okay that it didn't go to them. Shout out to our trans friends watching.
Day off today.
The next call we're gonna take Ryan, who's been waiting a bit, and for a quick topic change before we get to the rest of the calls. Hello, Ryan. Are you here to debate today?
Yes. Good morning. How are you?
We're doing good. Ryan, can you just provide me your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Oh, yeah.
Not name,
Ryan,
I guess.
I'm 44, and it's.
Go ahead.
What's that now?
I said I already knew your name.
And I use him.
Age and pronouns. Sorry, there is a bit of a delay, so
yeah.
we'll figure it out. Don't worry.
Okay, right on.
Okay, and Ryan, you want to tell us that you don't agree with abortion? Is that correct?
No, technically, I don't agree with abortion. But I guess my argument really boils down to is, why is it any of your goddamn business what somebody else does? I mean, regardless of your personal beliefs, your religious beliefs, anything of that nature, why is it any of your business? I mean, I can understand saying, okay, well, it's my tax dollars. Okay, then you just not fund any sort of those things, such as Planned Parenthood or any of those places where you can go acquire an abortion on the federal government and its taxpayers. I just don't understand. It's a fight over people saying it's women's rights. Well, you know, you're right. I have no say over anybody's body but my own, and I just don't understand why it's your business. That's the problem. A good majority of the world's problems these days is we don't mind our own business.
So,
you know,
so Ryan, it doesn't seem like we have a disagreement.
Go
here.
ahead.
I mean, unless you want to talk about like the morality of the decision, but like it seems like legally you are pro-choice. You don't think that anybody should be passing any laws that restrict people's access to abortions.
Correct. I suppose so. Yes. As far as morality, like I said, I don't agree personally with it. You know, if you're going to do it, if you're going to do the act, then you need to stand up as a man and a woman and be responsible. I think this pro-choice thing goes a lot with several of your other topics. So, I mean, you know, particularly, it's the lack of father. You know, I agree. You know, if that's what you think you need to do is have an abortion, but it boils down to it's not minding our business has been a lot of problems that can go other ways, right? Think 50 years ago, you know, people came home from work and they went home to their family and they tended to their family. They had a father and a mother and they had that extra added needed thing that children, that children need. And now that people want to not mind their business, look at how there's single motherhood almost across the board. Like it boils down to not minding your own business. And I guess I just can't comprehend why people can't. Yes.
But maybe I'm confused. Do you believe that
what's happening?
Do you believe that like abortion is the reason for single motherhood, or am I?
No, I think he's just saying they're related by the factor of just like societal decline in general, largely tied into people being nosy.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have much to disagree with.
There's
friend.
Yeah, there's little things in there that I would have issue with that I would want to talk about, but I don't think there's. Yeah, Ryan, there's some like little things in there, little factors that I would pick on if we were having a debate, but it doesn't sound like we have a serious debate here. We sound like we're on the same side for different reasons, but we are largely on the same side. So I fear that you've wasted a lot of time waiting on hold when you're calling into people who are like, yeah, dude, and we're gonna move on.
Yeah, like I don't like if you want to talk about like why you disagree with abortion, like we could, but like you don't want to legislate it. So I don't like, I actually think it's okay that people personally disagree with it, right? As long as they're not trying to like legislate other people. So like I fear, I like Forrest said, I think I'm sorry, but it seems like you might have waited for nothing, friend.
Yeah, it turns out if I did, then I did. It's what it is, man.
Okay,
well, thanks for the happy break in tone. This was fun.
No worries, man. You guys, I enjoy listening.
All right. Well, you have a great rest of your day, then, friend.
Yeah. Later.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
In
Cool.
the club, we all confused.
In the club. Oh, did I just disconnect from the fucking from the show?
You are connected as the host.
There
It's
we go.
okay, guys.
Welcome,
The tech,
host.
the
You are
tech
now in the
issues are
host
back.
room and
The
can
stream
manage your
is still on
callers from the
track.
call-in
Leave me
studio web
alone. I'm
interface.
trying. Okay, let's
We love an ally.
So as you can see, we have a lot of people calling about topic number 3, but I chose
a lot of people want to talk about God.
I chose the last one, so whatever one you want to do next for us, you can choose the next one.
Flip, dude. I mean, so just so the people in the chat know, we have 5 people on the line right now calling in to talk about that the Christian God is not evil. So like we got some stuff there. Let's start with, I guess let's just get to the first one. Let's start with line number 9.
Okay.
And then we'll maybe take a break with line number 11 here in a minute. We'll do
All
9,
right.
then 11. It'll be great.
So here we come, bringing on Edgar to the line over here. Not the line. I'm mad that Jimmy stole that name. So like anytime anybody else wants to say blah, 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 bringing Edgar onto my show. Edgar, welcome in. Are you here to debate?
Why not? Let's see what happens.
Okay, Edgar, can you just provide me your name and pronouns, please?
My name and what? I'm sorry.
Can you provide your age and pronouns?
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay,
I
I'm
might have
63 and my name is Edgar. Yes, sir.
All right, and your pronouns?
Okay, you said pronoun.
Yeah.
What's that? I'm sorry. I'm sort of losing you.
What do you prefer to be called other than your name when
Edgar,
someone refers to you?
Edgar. I mean, well, there's another word, but why
Other
use
than
that
your
word? Is better is Edgar for keep it.
Well, because because I will need
question.
to refer to this later when I'm editing videos, and the chat likes to refer to people. So, like when someone says, "Hey, Edgar, can I call you he?" Does that offend you, or is that like you're like, "Oh yeah, no, that's good."
Oh no, and I don't get offended very easily, but Edgar is okay for now. I think it's a pretty good approach. Yes, sir.
Right. I just want to be clear, Edgar. Like, we're asking for your pronouns because we want to know how to refer to you in the third person. So, like,
Okay, well,
if I was to say this
Uh-huh,
person called
yes, sir.
in, would I say
Mhm.
he called in, she called in, or they called in? What would you prefer me to say?
Okay. Well, you can say he called in. That'll be fine. Yeah, sounds like a good plan. Yes, sir.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. So he him pronouns. Is that what we would say then? Yes.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Okay, so Edgar, you wanted to talk to us. You disagree with us that the Christian God is evil. We believe he is. Are you Christian?
Well, first
Edgar?
of all, look. Let me tell you something, my dear sir. I'm pretty knowledgeable about things, you know, and I've talked to people in my community about multiple subjects. But you know, when you determine that someone in the universe is evil, you have to bring a lot of evidence for that. Because if there's no proven evidence, then whatever we're doing is a bunch of lies, and then lies don't get you anywhere.
Cool. I think we have tons of evidence.
We agree wholly.
Yeah. I think we have
Yeah,
tons
we
of
agree wholly. We can very easily agree that we need evidence if we're going to say a thing. So we do have evidence that the Christian God is evil. We don't think the Christian God is real, but the idea of it is an evil God.
Well,
so
then we'll figure out all these subject. I'm sorry. We'll figure all these subject points. First of all, we have to believe that there is someone there, because it's obviously you can't say there's nobody there. That you can't say that. I mean, if you say that, that means you're narrowing down your mindset to believing that there is nothing there. and if you say that, and you can't say that whatever that's not there, it's evil, because how could you?
Edgar, when we're saying he's evil, we're operating under the predication that he's real. We don't think he's real, but if he were real, he would be evil. Like, I don't believe Voldemort is real, but if Voldemort was real, he would be evil.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, but
right. We don't have to believe in a fictional character to say it's a bad guy.
Yeah, I'm coming from the belief that this one God is true and he's alive. That he's the only one. We could talk about multiple gods because there's a bunch of gods that we know about, but these other gods are false. They're not real at all.
It says on the screen, Edgar. It says on the screen it is the Christian God that we're talking about. So if we were talking about Sauron, we would be able to say he's evil, even if we didn't believe he was real. Here we're talking about the Christian God. You believe the Christian God is real. We do not. But we are talking about whether or not that God specifically is an evil entity, whether he's real or not. That's where we're at. We're all on the same page.
Right.
So would you like to now tell us why you think that the Christian God is not evil, or would you like us to tell you why he is?
No, I like to kind of contrast of the subject matter that someone's telling me that he is evil because he is not. Yes, sir.
Okay, so then let's start with a question for you. Do you believe that the Bible is an accurate depiction of who and what God is?
To elaborate on that matter, why not? Look, I've come to learn that there's only one book that God communicates with mankind, and it is the Bible. No, there's other books that are available, and that's true because that's part of the reality of life today. But the Bible seems to be hidden. Sorry, was that?
I just asked you a simple yes or no question. Do you think that the character of God as portrayed in the Bible is an accurate reflection of who God really is?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that if I were to read the Bible and I listen to what God says and does in the Bible, that I would have a good understanding of who God really is and the kind of things that God really does? We can agree on that, right?
Yes, that's correct. Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. The God of the Bible commands slavery. Is that a good thing or an evil thing?
Can I elaborate on that, or you only want one word for the answer?
No, if there's a reasonable elaboration, it's fine. It's just I asked you about, do you think this book is a good depiction? You said, well, all these other books, and I was just irrelevant shit. I'm just asking you straight.
I'm giving you my bigger scope and thing, but one word is okay. Yeah, okay, good. I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct. Okay.
You don't have to do just one word. If you have something that's like important and like meaningful to say, I'm happy to hear it. I'm just asking you, when the God of the Bible, in the Bible, God commands slavery. He says that slavery is good. He tells you how to do it. He tells you where to get slaves from. He tells you how to beat your slaves. He tells you that your slaves are your property that can be passed down to your children as property. He has different rules for slaves that are Hebrew and slaves that are not Hebrew, where the Hebrew slaves have to be released after 7 years unless you give them a wife, and then their wife and their children remain slaves forever. And if they want to stay with them, they have to also agree to be slaves forever. But if they're not Jewish, then they are just slaves forever, period. He has all these rules about slavery. At no point does God ever say anything negative about slavery. He never tells people not to have slaves. He tells people how to have slaves. Is that an evil thing or not?
No. No, you have to understand, look.
Okay, well, there we go.
You want me to elaborate, or you want me to stop?
There's a fundamental difference, is that well, no, you can elaborate. I just want to be clear. This is going to be a hard problem if you're going to call and tell me what evil isn't, and you don't think that slavery is evil.
Well, you have to understand. Let me tell you. So this is something I've learned with these people that I've been listening to concerning the Bible message for many years, and they tell us whatever the God of the Bible does, it's his prerogative. As human beings, we could run our mouth as much as we want to. We're not going to get anywhere because he's in charge. Okay. Everything according to what the Bible says concerning him, he is good all over the place. I mean, of course, as human beings, we understand, and he understands that too, because he's not a dummy. He understands that there's certain things on the earth that they're not very good. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So you're arguing so your whole theology is divine command theory. If God commands it, then it is a good thing. That's instantly. Well,
the thing is, you have to understand that he's in a better position. Like, for example, look, we'll take Jesus Christ, his example in human history and so forth and so on. When he came to the earth and he suffered a lot for mankind, I've talked to people here in Houston, because I'm in Houston, in Texas, and they don't like what Jesus Christ went through, all that suffering, and they don't understand why. So you have to understand there's certain things that God knows better than we do. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He didn't suffer for mankind, and there's no question.
He did suffer for mankind. The people don't understand why. He went through a lot of suffering. That's the key point.
For God. He suffered for God.
Oh no, he suffered for mankind because he bought mankind out of sin and death. What Adam and Eve lost for mankind. Because
why was Jesus' suffering necessary?
Because according to the rules and regulations of the Bible, There had to be an atonement for whatever Adam and Eve lost concerning.
Edgar.
Who set those rules, Edgar? Who set those rules?
God Almighty. Yeah, His name is Jehovah. By the way.
So God
Yes.
could have just forgiven people for their errors, but instead of changing the rules that He Himself made, He had to create a loophole in this blood sacrifice of Jesus. So Jesus' suffering was not for mankind. Jesus' suffering was to satisfy God's bloodlust so that He could then feel that enough suffering happened that He could then bring Himself to be a forgiving person. That's not love. That's not perfection. That's stupid and immoral.
Well, you can see it from that point of view. I'm not saying you can't, but the thing is that reality is reality. Like I said before, as human beings, we could have multiple decisions or thoughts on different subjects, but the bottom line, we're going to be at the losing end of the stick if we come down to the point that we're lying and we're absorbing all these things that we're thinking about, and we're creating these things, or actually trusting in these thoughts to be truth. And we want to actually, being a realistic person or persons, we need to find out if whatever we're believing is truth or not. And that's part of the journey of life.
Edgar,
if people want to do it. Yeah, go ahead.
Edgar, I'm sorry. Can you just tell me, could God have forgiven our sins without crucifying Jesus Christ? Is that something he was capable of doing?
He could have done a lot of things, and the bottom line, it's true that he would have done it in certain ways from our point of view, but it wasn't like that. He had to take a certain manner of a certain manner of approach to the matter, because there was things already was laid out and other things. The Bible describes that things were done back then, that there are certain things concerning Christ that needed to be done in a certain way to pull us out of the rut that we are still in. Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity, Edgar, is it possible, right? Is it logically possible, the last time that I committed a sin, was it possible for me to have chosen to not sin? Of my own free will, I didn't sin. Is that a possibility that could have happened?
Very, very much so for everybody. Not only you. Yes, sir, for everybody. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But the thing is, let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you for a few seconds. Is that there's a possibility, but the thing is that you need to know why you need to avoid the sinning. You have to also have to understand these things that are considered sins. How many things that are out there that actually, there's a scripture in the Bible that says some of these sins do incur death and some will not incur death. And there's certain sins that will take you directly to the target of death, personally, anybody on the planet. But there are other sins that will not incur death. So you need to understand that. If you don't understand that, then you're still at a losing end because you do not understand.
Edgar, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
If God showed up tomorrow and commanded me to, I'll ask you, if God showed up tomorrow, it was really God, zero doubts in your mind, this is God, and he commanded you to kill your child, would you do it?
You do an abortion, right?
No.
Or maybe
if God showed up to you tomorrow and said, take a hatchet, take your child up to the tallest mountain, tie him to a stone altar, and shove that hatchet down like in between his chest, would you do it?
Well, the thing is that you need to have a lot of trust in God. So I know you're talking about something that happened in the Old Testament that, but whoever that disciple of God or servant of God back then that was doing that almost did that. But God intervened and he said, no,
Edgar.
Don't do it. What?
God also,
I'm going from what I learned. I mean, if I were in his position, that person nearly took his son back then alive. Go ahead.
Edgar, take a breath.
I'm sorry.
Edgar. First of all, yes, in the story of Isaac, yes, he did stop him. In the story of Jephthah, he didn't. So there's one story where God commands child sacrifice and changes his mind at the last minute, and it was a purity test, which is fucked up to begin with. There's another story where he doesn't change his mind at the last minute, which is also fucked up. But that's not the question you were asked. Jovan just asked you, would you do it? If God told you to sacrifice your child, would you?
Well, we know that he's going to intervene. I know. I mean, I would go with the plan, but I know that sooner or later there's a lot of justice involved that God would intervene like he did in Isaac's situation.
So you would do it, assuming that God would change his mind eventually.
But listen closely, it would not be done because we know that he would intervene. No,
he didn't intervene with Jephthah, though. Edgar, there are literal stories of him not intervening. So what if you're in the case of him not intervening?
Well, we'll leave it up to God, right? Because it's going to fall on his lap. It's not going to fall on my lap. I mean, the thing is that you want to obey him because
the answer is inevitably yes.
Well, yeah, for now, yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay, Edgar, I'm not going to sit here and have a discussion over what is and isn't evil with somebody who thinks that slavery is good when God tells them to, and that says they would kill their own child if God told them to. You have evil beliefs, Edgar. Why are you here to lecture us on what fucking evil is?
The Bible, this is what I've learned also throughout time I've been living on planet Earth. Whatever God wants us to know is written in that book. And you can say maybe the Bible is kind of flunky or kind of goofy because there seems like there's things that are contradictory in there. But there's no contradiction. Everything that the Bible holds as information is truth. I mean, it's up to everybody if they want to believe that is truth or not. It's a personal and private matter. I know that. But the thing is that reality is reality. The Bible...
Genuinely, Edgar, is it possible for you to address what has just been said to you without flying off into some weird fucking half-baked sermon? Honestly. It's beyond frustrating and disrespectful. The fact that I'm
sorry.
offering
I won't get
actual examples and questions. We're offering you actual examples and questions, and every single fucking answer you're giving us is just some random shit about what you think your preacher said this week. Like it's madness. The beliefs that you are touting right now are the things you are advocating for are evil. So you're calling in and saying that God isn't evil, and meanwhile you are advocating for evil. So why should we continue this conversation? It's very clear that we have a very different worldview, where if I were to ask Jovan or any reasonable person with half a brain, is slavery ever good ever? They would all say, abso-fucking-lutely not. And when we ask you, Edgar, is slavery good? You say, if God says it, yes. And the same thing with murder of a child. And if you say everything else in the Bible is true too, then the same thing with genocide and rape and murder and everything else that God condones in the Bible. So at the end of the day, your entire position is divine command theory. If God says it's right, and that's not morality, that's obedience. I don't advocate for blind obedience, because I'm not a dog.
But you have to see the bigger picture. You have to see the bigger picture, my dear sir, because it's not just that little narrow point of what you just said. You have to see the bigger picture because you're not seeing the bigger picture. You're just seeing something you want to see. I'm not being disrespectful.
I'm seeing the world clearly because I'm not twisted into a moral pretzel like a good boy.
I'm sorry.
Do you know what, Edgar? Just to give you some perspective here, if God showed up to me tomorrow and proved to me 100% that He was God, right? And He said, Jovan, kill your kids.
Yep.
Kill them. Take them to a mountain, stab them in the chest. I would say, hell no. Are you a psychopath? And if he said, you failed the test, I would have stopped you halfway through.
Yes.
I'd have said, I don't give a fuck what you would have done. Even just the attempt would have traumatized my kids for life. I don't want them to go through trauma like that. And then I would have been like, and how do I I don't have faith in you because you intentionally lied to me. Right? Why should I have faith in a being who is willing to lie for his own personal gain?
No, but okay, keep going. I'm holding my breath.
That's my whole point. Why should I have faith in a being who's willing to lie for his own personal gain?
Your point is part of reality, but the thing is that sometimes, like I said before, I just said a few seconds ago, sometimes as human beings we can jump to conclusions, but our conclusions might be wrong, and they are probably all the time wrong because we're telling you, like, this is something I've learned. Mankind today, right now, this second, we're all out of harmony with God. So if we're out of harmony with Him, we can jump to conclusions many times over on subject matters in the Bible. Go ahead.
It's a good thing that we're out of harmony with God because God's an immoral piece of shit. The God of the Bible commands slavery. The God of the Bible commands genocide. The God of the Bible commands murder. The God of the Bible commands sex slavery of children. I'm very happy to be out of sync with this God.
But you have to understand why these things occurred. You don't understand. I'm being respectful. You don't understand clearly why these things
occurred because he said it was okay.
Edgar, give me the exact context in which it is moral and good to murder someone's family and keep their virgin daughter for yourself as a sex slave. What do you think is the context that makes that a moral and good thing?
You know, there's a scripture. I don't remember where it's at in the Old Testament. It says where he said, the God of the Bible said, "It says my ways are higher than your ways," and so forth. And that's true. Yeah, I mean, we could.
There it is.
We could.
And there it is.
That's part of the.
And there it is.
What was it?
Is that I'm a fucking human being, Edgar. And so if someone tells me go murder that family and keep their virgin daughter for yourself, I would think that was wrong. And you would say, clearly, they have a higher purpose. There must be some wonderful reason to do this, and you'd fucking do it. You're a monster, Edgar. You're a lapdog, and it's turned you into an evil piece of shit. I'm done with this conversation because I'm not going to fucking have a conversation about morality with somebody who started the conversation that's saying that slavery and genocide is contextual based on how big the dick is that's telling you to do it. I'm sorry, you're not a moral thinking person. You're a fucking dog and a servant, and you should be ashamed of yourself, but I don't think you have the fucking mental and moral capacity to be so. So I'm out. I'm done with it. Joe Vaughn, if you want to continue this conversation, it's your channel, but I don't tend to platform piece of shit like that. That's just me.
From Family Guy.
Nah, I dropped him. I'm not going to keep him on the line.
Go fuck all the way off, Edgar. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was an annoying call. And somebody paid to boot him anyway, so it all worked out. Shout out to Jax.
Hey,
shout out to Jax.
Jax.
It all worked out.
Do it earlier next time, Jax.
Well, they have to wait for the 20-minute mark. You pulled the trigger too soon. Actually.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, it's my fault.
I think anybody that says I would kill my kids if God asked me is on the level of I don't know. I can't even comprehend that shit.
What's crazy is usually when we have a call, if somebody says God is an evil and we bring these things up, they're like, okay, well, he wasn't really all about slavery, and he didn't really want genocide, and he didn't really want the child sex, and he didn't really want all it's just interpretation. Edgar's like, yeah, no, full send, bro. Absolutely. Keep those slaves. God said to. And it's like, fucking Jesus Christ. Like, how are we going to sit here and have this conversation? Are you kidding me?
We're going to quickly go through our super chats, everybody.
53 or 63 years of just a nightmare with Edgar.
We're going to go through our super chats really quickly just to thank everybody who sent super chats so far. All of your super chats, all of your tips, they do go to supporting the stream so we can keep the lines open for you so that I can continue to bring you debate content on the daily. First of all, shout out to the banner of Homura Akemi, said trans rights are human rights. I agree. Forrest, say trans rights right now.
I would have to. Trans rights are human rights.
Now I'm gonna clip that before he started saying it, and I'm gonna make him look bad. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, banner. Next up, from Spencer Schnormaneater, said, you guys really forget the cast the first stone. True, people forget that all the time. Did that show up? No, it didn't. Why didn't that show up? Hello? There it is. There it is. Thank you so much for the super chat. Next up from William Monnet, and now it went away. William said, making this super chat in hopes that Forrest goes on a minute-long rant of this thing he hates about capitalism the most while Jovan hypes him up. Solidarity, friends. And it keeps going away. I don't know why it keeps going away. I apparently can't use vMix either. Spencer again just sent another super chat. Thank you, Spencer. Another one from Spencer said, incorrect, Jesus hanged with prostitutes and taxmen. True.
Thanks for the simp coin, Spencer.
True. Jesus loved him his prostitute.
Someone else's channel.
From Raphael said, Bible, the number one book of trust me, bro. So true. What is going on with the super chats? Wait. Automatically update title with most recent. Yeah. Is that the one that I don't want it to be
Jovan Bradley.
That's what I don't want it to be doing.
Wonderful streams.
There we go.
Technical issues
I got it. I
and
fixed
atheist screams.
I fixed it.
Tune in today for another show. The tech won't work. Trust me, bro.
Crazy. Cunt of Satan said, Forrest, your favorite flavor of ice cream is boot. So is fire. Love and thank you both. Ave Satanas, Ave theyselves. Did I just summon something with that? I hope so.
I'm already here.
And from Raphael C said, the Blood Magic Gang. Christians are the Blood Magic Gang. W those Blood Magic Christians. W. Okay. Let's move on. If you want to send a super chat, remember they do go to helping the stream. Tips also go to helping the stream so that I can keep doing, calls for you guys. So I can keep taking calls and I can keep doing all of those things. And all the tips and everything go towards the streams. They go towards the streams.
It goes towards improving the tech for next time.
It goes towards that as well as keeping me alive and fed,
That's fun. Yeah.
Let me just see, make sure we didn't have anything else. Oh. We had Venmo from Taylor. Taylor said, please tell Forrest that was a valid crash out. Also, could we get guest Venmos on the screen in the future? I could add those in the future. Yeah. Absolutely can.
I don't know what I'm very old and stupid, and is crashing out just losing your temper in this case?
It is now. It's not what it used to mean.
Okay.
It's definitely what it's become.
Because I always thought that maybe I learned it a long time ago, because I thought it meant like you just had a mental breakdown, like you probably lost your shit.
No, it's definitely become that. We do have a lot of calls still on the line, so we are going to close the call-in lines now for the rest of the show. If we get to the end and there's more people trying to call in, we can pull more people in, but we're going to close the lines now. So if you want to call in again, try next show. Everybody who's on the line will get a chance to speak to us, so please just hang out with us and give us grace. We're going to bring in.
I'm mad that the person that was spam commenting about how sociology isn't real science and how you need to have metrics to. I told that person to call in 50 times and they never even addressed it. The dude's entire thesis is that he doesn't understand the difference between qualitative and quantitative data. But like, it's just, I don't know.
Crazy that you thought he would. We're going to bring
a lot of great comment warriors in the stream.
We always do. We're going to bring up Charlie. Charlie is next at bat, not that one. Charlie, are you here to debate?
Yes.
Okay, Charlie, can I just get your age and pronouns, please?
27, he, him.
Okay, Charlie, 27, he, him. Charlie, what I see here that you want to talk about topic number 6, the rights hypocrisy after Kirk's death. I believe it was an embarrassment. I believe Forrest probably agrees with me that it was an embarrassment. I assume you disagree with us.
I don't think they have any shame to be embarrassed with.
Damn true.
I do disagree. Yeah, I think it's the inverse. I think it's the left's hypocrisy after Charlie Kirk's death is the true embarrassment.
Sure. What hypocrisy have you seen out of the left?
What exactly? That was exactly what I was going to ask. Yeah.
So in regards to the weaponization of empathy, in regards to basically how the left is kind of now, they pick and choose when they want to wave the flag of free speech. And in regards to what the FCC chairman did, whether he had a hand to play in Jimmy Kimmel's firing or not, which I think there may or may not be a direct correlation, but the things that Jimmy Kimmel said on his show, and then he subsequently got fired, and then you have people making GoFundMes and they're trying to, basically trumpet like, hey, Like, it's not cool. Like, he should be able to say what he wants. Back in 2016 and 2017, it was the same people on the left that were telling us that we shouldn't be able to say what we want. If we make an edgy joke or post an edgy meme or say something that, you know, they just don't like, and it just hurts their feelings, then they have every right to, you know, fire you, dox you, ruin your life. And
so Charlie,
the right didn't start
Charlie,
cancel culture. The left.
Hold on, Charlie, because you've said a lot. I've written down the things you've said. I want to go through them beat by beat. So I don't want us to get too in the weeds before we can do that. First of all, you're talking about weaponization of empathy. I don't think anybody's doing this. When we're talking about left versus right, when I talk about the right, I'm primarily talking about the right in a sense of a larger governing body. So if you're just talking people on the left, like who aren't empathetic that Charlie died, or people on the left who don't seem to care, or people on the left that's celebrating it, I personally don't care about that. I don't care if an individual is doing that. I wouldn't care if an individual on the right is doing that. But I do think it's different when we look at government officials and what's come out of out of officials in government, what's come out of political pundits, what's come out of the larger voices is pretty staggering. Everybody on the left has basically said, hey, gun violence is an issue. Charlie Kirk shouldn't have died. Let's find a resolution so this doesn't happen again. Everybody on the right said, let's start a war with the left. Second of all, you said that we pick and choose freedom, our free speech because of what happened to Jimmy Kimmel. And you've acknowledged that there could have been a hand in here. If the FCC chairman is responsible, which I believe he is because he told ABC that they would face repercussions if they don't get rid of Kimmel. So that would be a direct violation of free speech. That is a governing body, because the FCC is a federal government institution telling a broadcast network what they can and cannot have on the air. And nothing Jimmy Kimmel said goes against FCC standards. So he didn't say anything that was against that. Second, I don't think he said anything bad at all. He didn't say anything negative about Kirk. He only talked about Donald Trump. So if you can point out to me like what he said that was so edgy, I would love to hear it. All he did was play two clips of Donald Trump being asked about Kirk and critiqued the way Donald Trump responded to that. So if Forrest, if you want to add to that, Forrest, before we let Charlie go, but then Charlie, you can respond to what I said.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference here that I think is missing, and this is something that's very frequently missing in this discourse, is that like when we talk about the left making jokes about Charlie Kirk's death and everything like this, like there's a major difference between like dark humor and whatnot versus like actually celebrating death itself. There's a big difference between being like having no sympathy for Charlie Kirk and continuing to criticize him the way that I did when he was alive. He was a racist. He was a misogynist. He was a fucking loser. He was a terrible debater. He was an asshole in every way. And now he's dead, and no part of his death absolves him from what a fucking irredeemable piece of trash he was when he was alive. That kind of thing, that's consistent. That is the free speech we're talking about. And no part of that is calling for anyone to be hurt or killed or celebrating the gun violence that I've made a point to say negative things about and to call out and to try to fight against for my entire career. Compare that now to Nancy Mace as a great example, I think, of what we're talking about when we talk about like the right's hypocrisy. The moment Charlie Kirk was dead, Nancy Mace came out on camera and said, we need the death penalty immediately. This person is a leftist and a liberal. She started calling this person slurs, saying they're either trans or they're a trans supporter. All these horrible things, assuming that this person was a super liberal, left-leaning trans person who needs to be publicly executed. And then the second that the picture came out showing that it was a white boy, she said that if she had just met Charlie, he never would have done this, and we need to love him and hope he finds Jesus like Charlie would have wanted to. And what we need to do now is pray for this young man. Totally different change, completely fucking 180 change in tone once she learned that this person wasn't somebody that she hates. So that's what we're talking about here. When we talk about the left, we're talking about some people who are celebratory and relieved over the fact that the harm that Charlie Kirk caused is over, but nobody with a brain is happy that he was murdered, happy about more gun violence, happy about another school shooting. Meanwhile, the response from the right has been, if you say anything negative about this person, even if you post the words he himself said, you should be fired, you should be doxxed, you should be put on a list. and you should, and then we have people calling for excuses and shit. I hope that elucidates where we're coming from a little bit.
No, I completely understand, but that's the groundwork, the tools, the framework, the weaponization of words. It wasn't started by the right. It wasn't. It started in what, 2016, 2017 with cancel culture from the left, and that's my point.
That's
is
not
that
true.
We just took what the left started and ran with it. And if you don't want to play by those rules, then you should have written the damn rule book.
Charlie, that's not true, because if Jimmy Kimmel had just been taken off the air because his ratings were bad, or because people stopped watching him, or because they just said, "Hey, I think it's time we really not." Hold on.
20 million views
He was the
on.
He was the second
2 million,
highest.
my bad.
He was the second highest late night show on TV. So if he had not come on and said anything about Kirk, would he still be on the air right now? The answer is yes. So it's not a ratings thing, right? It is only because of Kirk. If it was a ratings thing, he would have finished out his season, and then they would have said, "Hey, we're not going to renew for the next season. We're not going to do it." He still has a contract. He's still contracted. His show isn't even technically canceled. It's on indefinite hiatus because the FCC chair and the conservative affiliates of ABC are trying to strong arm Jimmy Kimmel into an apology, which he's not doing. But again, if it had just been these things, like, "Hey, people are stopped watching, so we're going to cancel the show." You said something that goes against FCC rules specifically, like you kept cursing on air and they kept charging us thousands of dollars, or you showed nudity on air, or you showed graphic violence on air, so you went against these FCC standards, so we're going to take you off the air. No, a chairman of a government organization told Jimmy Kimmel, or told ABC, that if they didn't get rid of Kimmel, essentially, they would face repercussions. And then hours after saying this, they made the decision to indefinitely pause his show. That is freedom of speech, quite literally being targeted by a governing body. If he had just been canceled by people online, I wouldn't have given a shit. I would be like, "Okay, you said something people didn't like, and they aren't supporting you anymore." If he had been said something people didn't like, so he got kicked off of Twitter, I wouldn't have given a shit. Right? Because those are public institutions or public corporations exercising their right to do that. That's not what happened. A governing body took him off the air because he said something they didn't like. And you can't, I don't think you can tell me, Charlie. No. Charlie, I don't think you can tell me.
There's 1 degree of separation here.
There isn't. The FCC is a governing body. It's a federal government organization. It's not an independent.
No, it wasn't. It hasn't been it hasn't gone to the yet. It hasn't gone to the chairman yet. It hasn't been like a rule that they make. He hasn't done anything to go against FCC guidelines.
He made a public statement. No. The chair of the FCC made a public statement. The chair of the FCC made a public statement. He said publicly that if ABC doesn't punish Jimmy Kimmel, the entirety of ABC will face repercussions. He said this publicly. Before they put his show on pause, the chair of the FCC said this. And then, what was it? 3 hours later? 3 hours later. Meanwhile, a host on Fox News can say, "Kill homeless people," and all he got is a slap on the wrist and had to apologize. Kimmel,
that's exactly what I was about to bring up.
What is it that Kimmel said that deserved his show canceled? He didn't say anything negative about Kirk. He didn't say one thing negative.
He could have.
Absolutely. I assume South Park's going to.
No. It was just, part of the FCC is, and I could be entirely ignorant on this, but you cannot knowingly spread false information as something that the taxpayers pay for, especially in news. Yeah, he's a comedian, but it's ABC. It's technically it's a talk show host, and all the talk shows do is they talk about news. They talk about news in an edgy, funny way.
Jimmy Kimmel is not classified as a news organization. And even then, you're sitting here saying you should be taken off the air if you spread misinformation. Why is Fox News still on the air? They literally lost a defamation lawsuit because they were knowingly spreading misinformation. They're still on the air.
They
literally
go
ahead. Boris.
I was going to say Fox News it was during Tucker Carlson's show. Their argument in court was that no reasonable person would believe what we're saying. Therefore, it's not really spreading false information.
Slightly different.
Same defense that Coca-Cola gave when they were sued over fucking Propel energy water. And they were like, no reasonable person would believe that this fucking Coke water is actually good for you. It's just marketing. And they won.
It was a little different. It was a little different. They said that Tucker Carlson's show, because it's essentially an op-ed, that it shouldn't classify under news like a same news program would. Which I would say is the same argument that you can use for Live with Jimmy Kimmel. It's a late night show. He was doing an opening monologue. And he didn't even say anything that was misinformation.
Then it won't be on hiatus anymore. It can be.
But he also didn't say anything that was misinformation.
Then he can come back. It's not like he's.
Why would he go back at this point? He knows that ABC is going to. He knows ABC is going to not side with him, and they're gonna side with Trump only because they want the FCC to approve a merger that they have on the books. That's the only reason they did it. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're not actually conservative. They don't care. They'll side with whatever party is lining their pockets. So because they need FCC approval for a merger that they have coming up, I don't remember the two parties. It's not Skydance. That's CBC, CNC. What? Whatever that's the Colbert one. Like twice in 1 year, a company has essentially sacked an employee because they want FCC approval for a merger. But at the end of the day, if the only way that they could get the FCC's approval is sacking someone the FCC doesn't like, and the FCC is a governing organization, because Kimmel, again, didn't say any misinformation. He said MAGA is trying to distance themselves and make it look like the shooter is not MAGA. That is true. They are trying to do that. Whether he is or is not MAGA,
But he's not MAGA, so that was misinformation.
Nobody knows because
not true. And when he said it,
we don't know what the shooter is because they haven't asked the fucking shooter.
No. You said anyone with a brain would not do anything evil or not have any of these dumb ideas, or anyone on the left that you would not have to have a brain to believe that the dude wasn't on the left. The dude didn't have these leftist ideologies. The dude, they wanted to say he was some dude that was
very easily
a Nick Fuentes freak, Nick Fuentes. No.
Charlie, as a 27-year-old, are you aware of what groypers even are?
What a groyper is? I heard of what a groyper was like last week. That was the first time I heard what the fuck a groyper was.
I've been on the internet for fucking...
Tyler Robinson is not a fucking groyper.
I've been on the internet. We don't know. Do you know how we could know? If somebody fucking asks him. But they don't. Instead, the FBI releases text messages that are really fucking suspicious. Look, I don't like Candace Owens, but she's doing better investigative journalism about this fucking shooting than the fucking FBI is.
I think fucking Israel fucking killed Charlie Kirk. That bitch is crazy.
I don't necessarily.
That was the whole point of him saying that the whole reason he just said that was to say this crazy person is saying something that's more reasonable. The point is, we have not gotten an actual statement from the actual perpetrator here, so we don't know what his actual motivation was from his own mouth. But no matter where he is on this, the point remains, all Jimmy Kimmel said was that the MAGA is trying to distance themselves from this person and make people say that this person is not MAGA, which is true no matter what. And at the end of the day, even if that wasn't true,
not, and he won't ever be. He's not. He won't ever be. Like Destiny. Destiny grew up in a conservative Christian household, and Destiny is the most far left freak on the internet. Like that's not an argument to say that the dude is MAGA.
Charlie, you are just yelling now. You're missing what we're saying and just yelling. I need you to calm the fuck down, okay? All we're saying is that what Jimmy Kimmel said, either what Jimmy Kimmel said was or wasn't true. Genuinely doesn't fucking matter. What he said was true. It was just a blanket statement that doesn't really mean that much. But even if it wasn't, even if he came out and said the killer was Santa Claus, and we all know this now, and said some complete bullshit, that isn't a reason to indefinitely suspend his show, especially when compared to what Jovan already brought up a minute ago, which is that in the same week, a Fox News host said that we should be rounding up homeless people and murdering them and giving them involuntary lethal injections. The government should just kill all the homeless people. And what he had to do was come out and make an apology and say, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And the show continues, and he continues as a host. This is very clearly politically motivated reduction of free speech.
Yes, I do. Okay, I can agree on that part. I don't think that that host should have said those things and should also be fired or lose their job or not be on air, because it's public interest. It's all things that fall within the purview of public interest. Like if they're on Twitter, or like what Jovan said, like if they're on a social platform, I don't care what they say, right? Because it's social platforming. It's the internet, it's the media, and they're not beholden to the taxpayers' dollars. And if the taxpayer is the one that is funding these programs and what they see on TV, and the contracts go out to these smaller corporations that will put them on American television for the public to see, then I don't think that they should just, be able to say whatever the hell they want to say and not beholden to the taxpayers.
Great. That is the entire point of the FCC.
Yes.
Also,
we have an organization that handles that,
if you're going to spread
and now they're doing a bad job.
If you're going to, okay, yes, okay.
If the FCC has rules against misinformation, why is Trump allowed to speak? Period. Like this is so crazy. So first and foremost, when it comes to the FCC regulating things, they do not have a regulation against misinformation because it's not something that can be regulated because it's classified under freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Now, they can set some rules when it comes to whether whether what you're saying incites a level of violence or public harm. That's totally different. They can say, yes, you're spreading misinformation and this information is going to lead to public harm. Then they can place rules on that. None of that is what happened here. And even Forrest's thing about Nancy Mace goes to show what Kimmel said, whether the guy is MAGA or not, right? What happened was, before they knew the identity of the shooter, MAGA tried to claim it was trans people. They literally were like, they wrote trans on the bullet. No, they didn't. Then, as soon as the identity of MAGA came out, they completely distanced themselves. They said, "Oh, he actually, we don't know.
Look,
we need to be careful. We need to,
Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. Notice this bulges ooh woo a furry transgender meme?
It's a meme.
Is it or is it not?
No. What it usually is it's a meme talk. I won't say it's used by trans people or not. It's a meme like circulating that why is the right always looking at people's genitals? That's it. Furry? No, it has nothing to do with furries.
I heard that it was a meme that was used by far-right people to make fun of trans people, but that was just what I heard on TikTok. I don't know about it, so I'm not going to say for sure.
No. The right would not, like, the right, at least as far as I know, the political right, they have no clue what the fuck any of that shit means. Bella Ciao Ciao Ciao. What's Bella Ciao Ciao Ciao?
A song.
Yeah, once again, this is something that has been used. This is a song that has been used by leftists recently, but again, everything that and again, I don't know for sure, but what I'm hearing from the legal pages that I follow is that this is something that I don't know why you're laughing when I'm just giving you what I've heard, because I'm trying to give you my example of like what I've learned. Weird that you would laugh at that. Is that far-right people, and I mean extreme far-right, like talking Groyper people, are now trying to co-opt that song, and that they have their own remix of it that they are now reusing to try to take it from the left. Again, same thing with this meme that is meant to make fun of furries and equate them to trans people. So like,
let me just be,
I'm learning.
Let me just be real clear about something.
Wait. Incredibly bad faith.
Stop. Let me be very clear about something.
I literally didn't make a claim.
I think it's most likely the case, right, that the shooter was not right. I think it's most likely the case that the shooter was on the left. It would surprise me, surprise me if the shooter was on the right. Even when it first happened, my thought was it would be really weird if somebody on the right did this, unless that person was like super into Fuentes, because quite literally on the 7th, it was either the 6th or the 7th, Fuentes made this giant, like 20-minute tirade about how fucking terrible Kirk is, how terrible Kirk is for the country, how Kirk is this, how days before he was shot. Now, would that shock me if the guy was on the right? Yes. But at the end of the day, the problem is that MAGA still tried to distance themselves from this, right? And whether or not he was MAGA or not doesn't classify as misinformation that Kimmel was saying. Kimmel did not present some misinformation when all of the information coming about the guy has been saying both things. We've heard his fucking family members say, no, everyone in our family is on the right. We've heard his friends say he has been ultra conservative and support. So like at the end of the day, the only thing that can disprove this is if the shooter releases a statement and tells us exactly what his political affiliation is, exactly what he believes, or he had some sort of manifesto that he could drop beforehand. Crazy that none of that has happened, that the FBI hasn't just been like, hey, tell us and we'll let people know what you said. But at the end of the day,
the only reason why
he's being uncooperative, which who knows.
The only reason why I'm so, I guess, frustrated and apologize for being emotional is it's gotten to a turning point at this point where I don't believe you. I don't believe those on the left that say, oh, I need this amount of evidence, when you're so quick and instances in the past, like with Kyle Rittenhouse.
What did I just say, bro? I just said it is most likely. I literally just said it's most likely that he's on the left. Like, I literally just said that. I said it would shock the shit out of me.
You need his own words. You need him to say something. You need him.
Yes,
you need
I
his
think that
evidence.
I think that I need the person who did it to tell me why they did it, right? Like the dude that shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand. I would want him to tell me why before I make any fucking jumps to conclude. Anything else is just speculation, and it can be speculation based on evidence. It can be an educated guess. It's still a fucking guess if it doesn't come out the horse's mouth. But really quickly,
what I have heard from other legal analysis from other people who are equally out of the loop from me. I'm not on super far right, 4chan, whatever the fuck. I don't do that shit. So I'm going based on what other people are telling me, and that's what I communicated to you, while being very clear that this is the analysis I've heard online, and I don't know if it's true. And you accuse me of being fucking dishonest about it. I don't know what you want from me here.
But we were paid to move on, so I'll give you a chance to say one final thing, Charlie. But then we got to move to the next caller.
I appreciate that. Look, at this point, the turning point, political fucking temperature is way too hot. Obviously, I'm too hot. Very emotional. Don't know how to process. I'm really fed up with how things are going. So I apologize.
Well, Charlie,
it's fine.
We have to move on, but I do want to just say, if the political temperature is super hot right now, go tell Trump to turn it down. He's the president. He's made no effort to even remotely try to turn down the political temperature. All he has done is tried to turn it up. Mm-hmm. He's made no whatsoever. So thank you for calling in, Charlie.
And back in 2018, when explosive devices were sent to 10 different Democrats and the news asked Trump about it, and he said, the problem is you guys are giving it so much attention. And they asked him, do you worry about the ramping up of political violence and political rhetoric? And he said, no, ramp it up more. Sorry. It's not our fault that we're here.
Yeah. Stop that. I don't know how to turn off call in studio so that people can't keep calling in. They are still calling in. I don't know what button to press that stops that.
I know you can cap how many lines are open at a particular time. You can have 0 lines open. I know we do that.
Yeah, but if I do that, won't it kick all the people that are already here?
Probably not. Because we do it all the time when we're on the line or whatever, and it'll say 6 out of 0 people still on the line, and it'll work.
Well, let's find out and see if it fucks up our show. Okay, no, it didn't. Okay, cool. I just capped it. Okay, cool.
There we go.
Everybody say a shout out to Adam for helping us move on from that one. Remember, guys, your tips go to keeping the call-in line the way it is. If you like this new setup where we can actually have people sitting on the line and they don't have to just try to be the first one to call in, consider tipping, because that's what that's going to go towards. We've been live.
It costs money to keep those lines like this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been 138 minutes of call, 139. We started the calls with 60 and we're down to 36. So what is that math wise? What is that? How, like, I don't know how much that is per minute. I don't know. Fuck it. Who knows? I don't know. But all of your tips go towards keeping the line open. It also goes towards, keeping me from being homeless. So shout out to that. We're going to move on. Next up, calling into the show. Let's give a welcome to Aaron, who's calling in. Aaron, welcome to the stream. Aaron, are you here to debate?
Yes, I am. How y'all doing today?
Well, we're chilling, Aaron. We're chilling. Can you just provide me your age and pronouns, please?
32, and pronouns are he, him.
Okay, Aaron, and you are calling to talk about topic number 3. Aaron, are you... That topic, by the way, is the Christian God is evil. And you're going to tell us that he, I assume, is not evil and that he is real. Would this be accurate?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, well, Aaron, go. The floor is yours.
Ready when you are. Let's talk.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, first, I'll do my due diligence and want to say thank you for allowing me to speak with you guys and having a platform of debate. I believe that's extremely important, especially in the time that we're in now. And so I just wanted to start it off with a thank you. Now, going into the topic at hand, yes, I do believe God is a good God. I believe that he's merciful and he's just. There's now going back to some things that you guys have already previously talked about, like when you all had brought up with Job, for example. God had allowed Job to go through that as a testament of faith, showing that Job would not falter under losing everything and everyone. And with that, he's
just to be clear,
God's mercy, love, and magnificence, and that with his strength and through love and our devotion, that we can overcome anything. And after he
so just to be clear, you're referencing the book of Job. Sorry, I know. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Job.
I just want to make sure you're referencing the book. You're referencing the book of Job. So then I'm assuming, based on this, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, that you are also saying that the character of God as laid out in the Bible is an accurate representation of who God really is.
Based on yes, so that's because that's what we have to go off of, But God is also God too, and
I didn't know if you were just drawing an analogy to Job, or if you were actually saying that the God of the Bible looks like the God of the Bible.
I want to just really quickly,
what's in the Bible
Aaron,
is how I believe God is.
Really quickly, I want to just touch on something you said. You said the God of the Bible is just. That, I think, is the most interesting thing anyone has said to us today, because I would argue there is quite literally no way to take the there's no way to take the readings of the Bible and claim he's just, especially if we're looking at the story of Job. How is what God did to Job just when prior to what God did to Job, Job was his A1 day one soldier? Job was the most loyal. He truly feared God. How is it just for a being that can see the future and knows that even if Satan comes in and does all this terrible stuff to Job, Job will still believe in God. How is it just for God to then allow what happened to Job?
Cause, not even just
So
allow.
what happened with that was that the devil went to God and said, "You know what? I'm going to prove to you."
Hold on. Pause.
Through your
God
this
did
man
it first.
that I
Wait.
can tempt him.
Wait, Eric. Just so that we are clear on the biblical teachings of Job, the story of Job. God brought Job up to Satan. God brought Job up to Satan completely unprompted. Completely. God and Satan were hanging out with all of their.
Well, he was sitting there talking and saying that he was exclaiming how awesome Job is.
No, what literally happened is God was sitting with his angels and Satan, and God says to Satan, "Have you heard about Job?" Remember, God knows all and knows what will happen. He knows that if he brings Job up to Satan, Satan is going to want to engage in this wager. So why did God bring him up?
Even if that wasn't the case, even if Satan was like, "Hey, I bet I can torture the shit out of Job," why isn't God in Job's corner saying, "Hell no, Job's a good dude. I'm not going to let you hurt my follower just to prove a point to you"? Why is God so desperate to prove a point to his adversary, who he also created, that he would torture a man?
I would have straight up said to Satan, if I was God and Satan comes in and is like, "Hey, God,"
because it was meant to go into the Bible. That God knew that this could be used.
Now that's an interesting argument. I have not heard someone use for Job. That is an interesting argument. But really quickly, I just want to say, if I was God and Satan was like, "Hey yo, Jovad," that's what they would call me, is Jovad. "Hey yo, Jovad, I bet you I can do all of this and Job won't believe in you anymore. I'm gonna say, "Hey Satan, you know me, right? Forrest, you be Satan real quick. Forayton, you know me, right?"
Absolutely.
You know that I
created me. I've been around since the beginning of time. I know everything you can do. Yes.
You know that I know that everything that will literally happen, right?
You are literally all-knowing. That's the whole point of the thing, except for most of the Old Testament where you're not, but I get that that's the message, yes.
Okay, yeah, you'll lose the bet. I foresaw it. You will lose the bet. So do you still want to take this bet?
You should torture your most devoted follower and kill his family to prove a point to me, though, is what I think you should do.
Oh, okay. That's how that would have gone if I was Jovad and he was Forayton.
And God says, "Bet I would love to torture this man to insanity and kill his entire family just to make the other angelic being that I created and technically have dominion over know the thing that I already know."
But I do want to, Aaron, I do want to give you a chance. I want to give you a chance to respond. I do feel like we've been talking a little bit, so you have a chance to uninterrupted respond to what we just said.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, so going back in that when the devil wanted to prove to God and also to man that he can overcome God, that this was another example of the struggle, the power struggle between God and Satan, that Satan's always trying to one-up God. And so God allowed this to happen because he also wanted to show people in the future that with faith, you can overcome anything. That with faith, patience, and love. And when God allowed the devil to do what he did and take everything from Job, and the fact that he did not falter, that he actually even praised God even more, and said that, "Father, everything you gave me is from you and it is of you, therefore I cannot own anything. So whatever you give me, you can take away." And then finally, when the devil could not, when he afflicted Job with the boils, took his family, took his herds, took his land, and he still did not falter, and God then blessed him sevenfold. And now we have an example in the Bible of someone's powerful faith.
He did also kill his family, though, before that happened.
Yeah, it just seems weird that
that's what I just said. Was that his family did die.
What is being blessed sevenfold when all your kids are dead? How, like,
he has more kids.
Well, like he had sevenfold of everything.
3 daughters.
He had sevenfold. Yeah, he had seven more wives.
He got new kids.
And then 7 more family.
So if Aaron, if your wife and children are killed, and then you marry someone else and have more children, would you say you were better off than you were earlier, and you're happier now?
What I would say is exactly what Job said, is that what the Lord giveth, the Lord may taketh away.
Why didn't God just tell the creators of the Bible to just make up a parable? You know, like the tortoise and the hare or something. Why did he have to actually?
Because then the Bible wouldn't be real.
You know, the Bible already has parables in it, right?
The Bible does have parables in it as well as stories.
Put another one.
History.
Why did he have to torture a man to the point of insanity and kill his family? And in what case would you ever say it was justified to kill someone's entire family to prove a point? To teach a lesson?
It wasn't God that killed him.
What
though.
lesson?
It was Satan that
Who
did.
created Satan?
Okay, if I hire a hitman and have hitman go and kill some people, it's still my responsibility. So God says, I've put Job in your hand. You can do whatever you want except for kill him. And so Satan kills his family,
he
covers
allowed
him in
it to
boils.
happen.
Right. So in what if you
why did
pay a hitman to go slaughter someone's family, and then you come along later and you said, I hope this taught you a valuable lesson. Does that make you a good person? Like, no, it doesn't. This is still an insane thing to do. And it's just like with the first call that we had about God. We're arguing from the premise that any of this is even remotely morally justifiable. And it's simply not. There is no moral justification for taking a good, honest person, someone who's doing everything right, and slaughtering their family just so that you can teach a lesson to them and somebody else in the future. That's not appropriate. And no amount of power, no amount of might makes that right.
So what God was proving was that Job's faithfulness was genuine and that it wasn't due to the blessings that God had already given him. And that's
I
what
think
he
that
was
what God was proving, I think what God was trying to prove is that he's in charge and what he says goes, which is evidenced at the end of the book.
He doesn't have to
you've
prove
got
that because everybody already knows that, and he is.
Okay, well then you should cut out the almost.
You don't have to prove your omnipotence.
Aaron, I'm gonna finish this sentence if it kills you. If everybody already knows that he's in charge and he doesn't have to prove it and all that, then you should cut out the almost 4-page ranting, screaming monologue that God gets at the end of the book of Job, where he goes on and on and on about how great and powerful he is and how he was there when the stars first were singing and he hung the moon and he created the sun, and who will care for you? Will it be a unicorn? Will it be a behemoth? Will it be nothing will possibly satisfy you the way that I can, because I'm so great and powerful and everything comes from me and you will do what I say. It's 4 fucking pages of God saying, I'm big and strong and mighty. Who are you to question me? So why did he need to give that whole fucking line, that whole speech to Job if he already knew it? And if everybody already knew it? The point of this book isn't that Job is a good and faithful servant. Because throughout the course, I'm still finishing this, because throughout the course of the book, Job meets with his friends and asks them over and over, why the fuck would God be doing these things? He asks really good questions about why the fuck am I even alive? What's the point of my existence? What's the point of anything if God can just do whatever he wants? And his friends answer him in all sorts of really horrific fucking ways that we hear apologists give nowadays about how, hey, it's your fault for being fucking born, dude. At the end of the day, God can do what he wants, and you should, if anything, you should be suffering more. You deserve more punishment because you're such a piece of shit. Like, we get all sorts of apologetics from his 3 friends, and then at the end of the book we get 4 solid pages of God swinging his dick, all so that you can get to the end where Job says, all right, sorry, I guess you're in charge, and then he gets a new family and everything's okay. again, the only way that you can argue that this is even remotely sane is with the premise, the presupposition that everything is moral as long as God does it. Because if morality is an objective thing, God is a fucking lunatic in this book.
Well, yes, morality is morality is different for different people.
I want to touch on something. I also want to
very
touch
much
on
given.
something.
You know,
I want to touch on something real
my
quick.
My morals are different from yours.
Wait, I really want to touch on something real quick. You had mentioned that when it comes to the reason God did all this is because we have free will. God takes away people's free will all the time in the Bible.
He does.
He doesn't actually give two shits about free will. Constantly removes it from people.
I disagree with that. He does, because he gives us the ability to choose whether or not to believe in him.
So why does he take it away from people specifically, and then direct example?
Who are you talking about specifically?
Yeah, when Moses went to the Pharaoh for the first time to ask the Pharaoh to free the Israelite slaves, God told Moses, "You're going to go and do this, but I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart so that he says no." And then God hardened Pharaoh's heart, removing Pharaoh's free will. Pharaoh then said no, because God said, "I'm going to harden his heart so he will say no." And then God punished all of Egypt for Pharaoh saying no by sending the plagues. So why God's removing someone's free will and then punishing people for said removal? This is not a good being. How could we even remotely claim that it is?
It actually says several times.
I'm looking up what you're talking about.
Pharaoh says, I can pull it up for you right here. I've got my Bible open. It says several times, and Pharaoh wanted to set them free, but God hardened his heart so that he wouldn't. Here's just a couple of passages. What Jovan was talking about, where he alludes to it. This is in 14. So Exodus 14:3. Pharaoh will say of the children of evil, they are entangled in the land, the wilderness, and has shut them in. And I will say, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he shall follow after them. And I will be honored. I think this is actually after. Hold on, this is after they're released. Give me a second. I'm looking in the wrong place, but that is a part where he says that. He hardened Pharaoh's heart, so hearken not unto them. And the Lord said, that's in 7. It's hardened again. He hardens it in like every fucking verse. I'm trying to look for the one where he actually says, all right, I'm going to let him go. And then it says no.
Even if he didn't say it, it's still implied that he would have by God saying, I hardened his heart so that he'll say no. That's still implying that.
So but that would have been after he's already shown that his unwillingness, though, to listen.
No, hold on. He's got a.
Here's in chapter 7. And the Lord said to Moses, See, I have made thee I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, and that he send the children of Israel out of this land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh shall not hearken to you, and that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth mine armies and my So he's saying, I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart so that I can bring more plagues upon Egypt. It's all so that he can swing his dick around. And here we go. We go into the thing
sovereignty
here.
Over the Egyptian gods.
So just to be clear,
because
he is punishing.
That's what this was the battle of. Was that who was greater? Was the Egyptian gods greater, or was Yahweh greater?
Right. So instead of going to their ruler. Instead of appearing to their ruler and saying, you are to let my people go, here's all the images of my might and majesty, and now you can see that I'm a real God, and you should let my people go. Instead of doing that, he punished all of the people and their animals, slaughtered all of their animals and their children, all the innocent children in Israel, the firstborn babies that were now just innocent children, no control over this, born to families who have no control over this. They are punished with death so that the Pharaoh can make a political decision. That was God's master plan to show his sovereignty, rather than just showing the fuck up and saying, hey, y'all, please let my people go. Anyway, I can go through this line by line if you want, but I don't know if it's necessary. He says over and over and over in this fucking book that he's going to harden Pharaoh's heart, and that Pharaoh's heart is indeed hardened.
Let me break down what you just said. Okay, that's exactly when Moses went to the Pharaoh and said, "Let my people go."
Pharaoh's heart was already hardened by that point. Pharaoh's heart was already
Pharaoh's heart was already hardened at this point, and also Moses isn't God.
The Pharaoh said no because
that's when God
the Pharaoh
no.
God already hardened his heart. No. You are misunderstanding your own book, Aaron. When Moses goes, yes, you are. When God appears to Moses as the burning bush, this is when God tells Moses to go to the Pharaoh and try to free your people. This is the first time it's happening. Moses is like, I didn't know God was going to have me. God said, when you go and do this for the very first time, I will have already hardened the Pharaoh's heart. So the Pharaoh is going to say no to you because I hardened his heart. Not he's going to say no to you and then I'm going to harden his heart. No, it's I'm going to harden his heart so he will say no to you. Then what's going to happen after that is I'm going to slaughter a bunch of Egyptian kids because the Pharaoh said no, and I need to prove my power to the Pharaoh. What Forrest is saying is, you know how he could have proven his power to the Pharaoh? Maybe show up to the Pharaoh as a burning bush, like he did with Moses, and be like, hey, yo, let my damn people go.
Or if it really has to come down to punishment, punish the Pharaoh. Why is he slaughtering all of these innocent children to prove a point to their political leaders?
Of why the plagues happened to the people, because you have to understand that with the Egyptians, that was the Pharaoh was the embodiment of their God on earth. So whenever he went to him and proved that Pharaoh is not God and that Yahweh is the true God, you still have all these other people that are going to speculate and say, no, that's not correct. Our gods are still greater. We still believe.
So then it's
them.
Exactly like.
That's why the plagues had to happen, because.
So then it's exactly like the Book of Job, where God thinks it's acceptable to kill children to prove how powerful He is.
So, like with the walls of Jericho, whenever you have a people and you attack those people, okay, you still have their family, right? Now those people are going to grow up with revenge, and then they're going to come back and attack you. Okay, so the reason why God had Jericho wiped out completely and that nobody was allowed to take anything from Jericho was so that bloodline was ended and that it was done there.
Okay, Aaron, somebody paid to boot you like at the very start of the call and then finally hit the 20-minute mark. I was hoping to see if you could give us some sort of convincing argument, but it seems like you don't know your book enough to contend with us on this, because you keep
even claiming that things are. I would disagree with you on that, but
you keep claiming things are happening.
Aaron, even what I keep trying to say, even if what you were saying is true about the book, it doesn't make the book moral or acceptable or right. Over and over, all we're saying here is that God is so mighty and powerful that He needs to kill children to prove it, and that's not a God worth worshiping.
Yeah, so thank you for calling in, Aaron. If you want to try to call back another day to try to contend with this even more, feel free. Thanks for calling into the stream. Goodbye.
If God really wanted to prove that He was more powerful than all the Egyptian gods, He could have done. He could have fed all those Egyptian children. He could have housed them. He could have educated them. He could have given them health care. He could have given them clean drinking water. He could have taught them really cool things about the future. He could have made sure they were elevated and that they wanted to go be with God. They could have been a part of his divinity on purpose. They could have chosen that for themselves, but no, He's going to slaughter a bunch of kids so that a political leader that He caused to make the wrong decision makes the right decision someday, but only after being drowned. What a wild story. Very moral.
Do me a favor. I'm going to pretend to be the Pharaoh. You pretend to be God at the burning bush and appear to me.
Yeah.
So here I am
Yeah.
walking along. Oh my God, a bush is on
Oof, I'm a
fire.
bush.
Well, how did that happen?
Yo, what's up, bitch? Hey, slavery's bad.
Is that
Don't
bush
do it.
talking to me?
Yeah, motherfucker, I am. And hey, again, can't repeat this enough. Slavery's bad. Don't do it. Don't do slavery.
Why
Don't
should
have
I
slaves.
believe
Slavery-
you, Bush?
Oh, turns out, hey, guess what? I'm God, and I can do all sorts of things, like talk through a bush.
Prove
If your
it.
God's ever done that, probably not. Prove it. Check it out. Here is.
If you're really God, make it rain right now.
Motherfucking rain, just like in I forgot which, but I think it's Samuel, which is a time that hasn't happened yet that you don't know about, but I'm pretty sure Samuel, some fucking kid, I show up and I'm like, hey, I'm God, and that kid's like, hey, if you're really God, make in the morning, make the morning dew fall all around this blanket but not on it, and then the next day make it fall only on it but not around it. And God does these tests and proves that he's really God, even though you're not supposed to test and question God, but people do all the time. And also, like in the book of John, where I let people finger me and I show them how real I am, and I have all sorts of stuff in here about how I prove myself through many miracles. Here are some of those miracles that I do in the Bible to prove myself, because I say that I can.
Well, consider
Don't own
me
humans as farming equipment, Pharaoh.
Consider me flummoxed and slightly aroused. I guess I will
donated $5.
go and
No,
free
you
the
don't
slaves.
understand. When God said he would harden
Sweet,
Pharaoh's heart,
awesome.
what he really meant was
Hey,
he would
by the
give him
way,
a case of
fucking
atherosclerosis, rolling on the
$5
floor
chicken
laughing
meal at Popeyes this weekend. Come on down. Get you, God.
Before we go to the next call, we're gonna go and read some super chats. Let's get through some of the super chats that we've had up till this point.
Can I
First,
before we
go
do,
ahead.
Before we do, we were in the book of Exodus. Can I tell you my favorite part of the book of Exodus?
Yeah.
It's actually right after the burning bush. It's Exodus chapter 4, verses 24. 23 and 24. It goes on there from there. But like this is right after the burning bush. And verse 21, God says to Moses, go to Egypt, see the Pharaoh. I'll harden his heart and all that stuff. And Moses is like, bet, I'm out. I'll see you later. And he goes. Then verse 24, literally the next sentence. And it came to pass that by the way of the inn, God met him and sought to kill him. And Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off his foreskin and cast it at his feet and said, a bloody husband thou art. And so he let him go. So literally in chapter 4, he has the whole burning bush talk, and he says, go talk to Pharaoh. And Moses says, okay, and walks away. And the next thing that happens, zero context, zero filler. The next thing that happens is God tries to kill Moses and is thwarted by an emergency field circumcision and lets him get that. That's what happens in the fucking book. It's wild. It's a wild read if you haven't read it. It is a fucking, it's a carnival in here.
I love it. First
My
super
favorite
chat.
part of Exodus.
First super chat from Sedalius. Sedalius says, for my Oklahomian fellow Tulsan Forest. W
Hey.
Sedalius. Next up from Tyson said, Taoist morality, the supreme good is like water, benefits all of life without trying to compete with it. Christian morality, yo, fuck that other guy though. That's kind of funny. Molly said, I'm not celebrating Kirk's death. It was messed up and horrifying, but I refuse to mourn him. There's a difference. I agree. It'd also be okay if you were celebrating.
Yeah.
Seth said, so now the right cares about misinformation. Huh? Question mark. Literally this. William said, would love an option to donate to keep them on. I mean, we could play. I used to do that on TikTok where $20 would boot them. You'd have to match and surpass. So it would take 40 to keep them on. And we did that. If you know who Joel Patrick is, he's this really Harriet would have left him, black conservative on TikTok. And I once got like $200 because someone paid to boot him, then he paid to stay on, then another person paid to boot him, then he paid again to stay. It was fucking hilarious.
Jesus.
It was great. Fuck that guy though. Then once I took permanent pay to keep him from he couldn't ever call back. He was permanently banned. Someone paid like $200 to never let him call back in. This is from Skeletor's Left Foot. This is a 3-part message, so let's go through the 3-part message. Hey, Forrest, I've been arguing with someone on your sex and sensibility video. They claim some studies in your citation list debunks your claims. So the next part. The studies they point to are behind a paywall. Is there a way to get a hold of those studies? I'm pretty sure it's just a dumb talking point. But I want to do my due diligence. Never stop learning. Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, so 2 things really quickly. Number 1, to answer your question, go to scholar.google.com, type in whatever study you want, and if it's behind a paywall, very often it'll have listed underneath, it'll have the title and the authors and all stuff, and then there's some buttons under there, and one of them will say see all blank number of versions. And if you click on that, very frequently there will be a PDF version or something tucked away in there that you can just see the full PDF. I do that all the time. It's really cool. Also, that talking point that my own studies that I cite debunk me is the most common and the most dumb thing on that video, because I say in the video over and over and over, we used to think about things this way. This was the way that this used to be, and this is one way of looking at it. And I cite sources for that because that's how thinking works. Like, it's just, I didn't publish a transcript. What I should have done, this is a worthy criticism of me, I should have put reference numbers as I was talking. That would have made the video much better, but I'd worked on it so long and I wasn't trying. I just ran out of energy to do it, and that would have made the video way better. Would have gotten around that, but whatever. But yeah, I frequently say in the video, we usually define sex this way, or sex used to be defined this way, or didn't used to think that sex and gender were the same thing, and this time. And I have like references that talk about that shit in there. And I also have lots of references that are very clear about sex and gender not being the same thing and not being binary. But there's a bunch of people who just went through that list and found one out of like a bunch of references and decided that means I'm wrong. Also, I didn't even use all the references. There's sometimes I was like putting something, I'd write it out. I didn't end up putting in the video, but I left stuff in there. And I made it very clear at the end of the video, this reference list includes stuff that I didn't even talk about. It's just a place to go explore, go learn, have fun. And even if you think that I didn't read the studies, or that I did read the studies, but I'm misinterpreting them, or I did read them, but I didn't read the other ones that I should have read, or any of the other bullshit talking points I get, I also have a review board full of fucking people, all with higher degrees than I have. I'm a PhD student. I have several PhDs and MDs. Most of the people on that review board were university professors that specifically cover this shit. And then you get into conspiracy theories about how those people are also all wrong and whatever. And that is why it's really important to remember transphobia and this whole shit. It is the exact same kind of science denial as you get with flat earth and anti-vax and all these other bullshit fucking climate change denial. It's all the same science denial. It's everybody's lying but me. All these universities are corrupt. All these professors have to spread these lies to keep their job. There's a political agenda. There's some societal agenda. We're all being pulled away from God. We're all whatever. That this is all modern stuff, that it wasn't around when I was a kid. That you can't trust these studies. You can't trust this evidence. XYZ science aren't real science because they don't work the way that I think they should work. You can't use a textbook from this decade. You have to use from that decade. I'm sorry. Science doesn't fucking care about your feelings. Literally basic introductory biology textbooks explain that sex and gender are different things and neither one is a strict binary. It's not fucking news. It's been around for like 100 years. We've known this shit. It's not fucking news. But science deniers are going to science deny. It's what happens every fucking time.
Really quickly,
how prevalent do you think black MAG actually is?
How prevalent do I think black what is? What did that say? Black something? I don't know what that said. We have 3 more people.
I don't even know where it is.
It was an alert. Actually, you're not hearing the alerts. I can make it so you do.
I'm not.
I just need to turn. I actually don't know how to make it so you hear the alerts.
I see him popping up on the screen over there sometimes. That's about it.
I actually don't know how to make it so you can. Actually.
It's okay. As long as I can make sure you hear this, I'm happy.
Crazy. We are going to get to all 3 of the callers. Thank you so much for waiting on the line. All 3 of these callers have been waiting over an hour, so stay on the line. We are going to get to all 3 of you before the stream ends today. I do want to start here with Atticus. Atticus wants to talk about a different topic than the two that we just have, so I'm going to bring him up. Atticus, are you here to debate?
I am.
Okay. My apologies if I misgendered you. But what is your age and pronouns, Atticus?
I am 19 and I use he, they.
Oh, sweet. So I was right. Let's fucking go.
Hell yeah.
Okay, 1 second, Atticus. Let me. Do you disagree? Are you in opposition to us about the bathroom topic?
Yeah. So I want to say first of all that I am trans, and so I know that my opinion that I have currently is wrong, and I want to work on that. But every time I try and talk about it with one of my friends, they like judge me and like hop on me to like call me horrible things. So I wanted to talk to somebody that like hopefully wouldn't do that.
Okay.
But I currently think
Fuck you.
that like I currently have like an issue with letting anybody different than what the bathroom is assigned into the bathroom, because I'm not saying that trans people would go in to harm people, but I do think that people would pretend to be trans to go hurt people. So I am concerned about that. I think that the solution to that would be like having like non-gendered bathrooms, but as it currently stands, I don't know if like trans people should be in their like preferred bathroom.
Okay. Let me this
So,
is
let's
actually super. No, this should actually be a super quick call. I actually agree. We should have have like gender neutral bathrooms like all together. I think it would solve like a litany of issues. However, when we talk about if it's just going to be, if the claim is just, I think people will pretend to be trans to go into the bathroom to hurt somebody, they also would just pretend to be women, right? They pretend to be cisgender women and go in to hurt somebody. So like just like not letting them, like it wouldn't change anything.
Or if even like that, because that is the argument, is that like some man's going to put on a dress, claim to be a trans woman, and go in and assault somebody. But if you say now, no, you have to use the bathroom of the sex you were assigned at birth, then the cisgender man no longer has to put on a dress. They just walk in dressed as a man and say, oh, I'm a trans man. I'm actually supposed to be here. And you're in the exact same scenario. At the end of the day, creeps are going to creep.
That's true.
And the problem that you have is with assholes being assholes, not with anything else. And you're risking taking out that problem on transgender people, because it is only transgender people that will actually be hurt by any kind of regulation or ban or change or whatever that you try to do here. The same cis people being creeps are going to continue doing whatever they want. They're not affected in any real way. So at the end of the day, if you want to fix this problem, we need to be cracking down on violence against women in general, not trying to regulate what can and can't happen in a bathroom, because that only hurts trans women. Really, it hurts trans people in general, but especially trans women. Also, get better friends.
What do you think would be the
fact your friends won't let you talk out an idea is ridiculous.
Yeah, I asked one of my trans friends, and like the way I phrased it must have like upset them, because I immediately was like, oh, it's not that big a deal, and then they were like, that's kind of a big deal though. But what do y'all think would be the solution to like stopping creeps being creeps, if you have that?
Well, there's really it wouldn't be anything to do with a bathroom, because typically what happens is rape and assault happen near or close to the home by someone you know. It's actually really rare that rape and assaults, not saying they don't, but it's really rare that rape and assaults happen by just some random person in like a bathroom. If we are saying, hey, how can we make bathrooms safer? I believe that gender neutral bathrooms would do this, because more people would be in the bathroom at any given time. And what the issue with, if you're going to be assaulted in the bathroom, it would be when you're alone in that bathroom. So more people would be in it. We could bathroom attendants would probably help. Like it might be a way to like, get some people employed too, if we just hire bathroom attendants for public bathrooms. But I think like not single stall, gender neutral bathrooms, the floor to ceiling stalls in each bathroom, I think would be a way to help keep people safe in the restroom.
Okay,
That'd be a good
since
start. And also,
like,
I just want to
genuinely
point
do
out,
wanna
like, it
change-
is, and this is a really broad answer, and it kind of sucks, but like, it is a societal issue. Like, you wonder why it is that there is so much more violence here than there is in other parts of the world. It is a social issue, and so
Yeah.
like, teaching young boys especially not to be rapists is a great way to avoid having rape happen. And I know that's a long-term problem,
Yeah.
a long-term solution. But honestly, like, if you want less rapists, make less rapists is what I would argue.
Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure I'm understanding properly, since I do genuinely want to change my mind. But so what you're saying is that like having a gendered bathroom only harms trans people because like it puts them into like boxes and stuff like that. Am I understanding properly?
Like separating gender.
Not that it puts them in boxes. It's that it is.
No, go ahead, Forrest.
Sorry, go ahead, Jovan.
No, you go.
Okay, I was saying it's not that it's putting them into boxes. It's that it is stigmatizing them and making them be the only people who now have special rules about this. When at the end of the day, you're not actually solving the problem you set out to solve. You're just making weird laws that only apply to 1% of the population just because it makes this problem, this pain, onto them, even though it's not their fucking fault. Trans people are 4 times more likely to experience or to be the victims of violent crime, including assault, murder, rape, you name it. They are 4 times more likely to be the victims of these things, not to be the perpetrators of these things. And so you're taking these victims and saying that now they must be penalized for what these fucking idiots do all over the rest of society to everybody. It's simply not fair, and it's passing on stigma. It's increasing social stigma and passing on unjust problems to them.
Yeah, I take a stance pretty solidly around bathrooms, that when we look at the way people in society engage with bathrooms, it is always from a self-identification gender stance. Always. It's just how we do it. We don't check someone's genitals before they go in. We don't check someone's ID before they go in. Whether you go in looking like a man or looking like a woman, I've seen plenty of men that go into the men's bathroom who look like typical women, and I've seen plenty of women who go into the women's bathrooms who may look like what is typically a man, right? Because this is how we engage in it, I think to like Forrest said, to give a different rule for trans people that they now can't engage in it this way, I think it's just rude.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Was there anything else?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate it. I think that covered everything.
Okay. Well, thank you, Atticus, for calling in, and you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank y'all.
Take care.
You know what?
Also, I was going to throw out to the people in chat who's saying that we're describing gun control. You know that we have more guns in this country than we have citizens, right? And you know what doesn't happen when you let trans people just pee where they need to pee is you don't have more mass shootings a year than you have days in a year, which we have a lot of times in the past few years here in the U.S. There's, I believe,
are there more than
600, so almost 2 a day on average?
Are there more than minutes?
More mass shootings than minutes?
Than minutes in the year.
No.
How many minutes are in a year?
A lot. Let me do the math. Hold on. Well, I guess I can just Google as well.
529,600 minutes. Sorry, I just wanted to make a Rent reference. Shout out to my musical theater nerds.
Is that actually what? Oh, God damn it! There's a whole thing about that.
529,000 moments of it's great. I'm glad I could do that. That really gave me
a lot of
happiness.
A lot of weird nerds out there that are very mad at me right now.
529,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in a... I forgot the words. Anyway, we're going to take the last 2 calls for stream today. Do you guys, question for chat,